Chapter 25, Chapter 025 Talk. Chapter 025. I read an article in the New York Bulletin. They broke out the scandal, right? Alex said, trying to sound indifferent. Coincidentally, the television screen in the cafe was also doing a news report about the scandal. Even after 3 days, the scandal was still a hot topic, and it was surprising that it hadn't been replaced by the breakup of a celebrity couple. Matt perked up his ears at the television screen before saying, yes and no. They did break out the scandal, but there's an interesting story behind it. Apparently, they got a flash drive filled with enough proof to completely destroy the company. He stopped, trying to read Alex's heartbeat before continuing. Who do you think gave them the flash drive? They did one of those sting operations. No, apparently, one of the investigative journalists in New York Bulletin, Ben Ulrich, was handed the flash drive by a masked vigilante in the middle of the night. Pretty weird, right? Alex laughed meekly at that, frowning inwardly as he got a grasp of where Matt was heading the conversation to. He must know something. Was he there when I was retrieving the flash drive that night? He wondered inside his heart. After hearing about the location of the flash drive, Alex had hurried because he had an indication that Matt will try to get there as soon as possible too. His goal wasn't to compete with Daredevil. He was only doing it for HP. After all, he will get little to no HP if Matt solved the whole case and brought down ally constructions. He needed to play an active role in it for the system to see him as a major contributor. It had also worked as Alex had gotten a lot of HP, but now, he was in trouble as Matt had gotten suspicious of him. Alex frowned but continued to keep a facade. Yeah, it's certainly weird. A lot of masked vigilantes have appeared out of late. Matt nodded his head at that and said something that sent chills down Alex's spine. Yeah, apparently, the police and the street gangs have given a nickname to that vigilante that helped in the Ally construction scandal. Do you know what it is? What? Wolf. Wolf. What sort of name is that? Alex asked, completely unaware that the police and the gangs had already given him a nickname. Thinking of it, he didn't feel bad about it. It just meant that he was becoming famous. Some of the criminals that he helped to capture told the police that they saw the figure of a wolf before getting knocked out. That became the reason for his nickname. That's cool. It seems like vigilantes are really trying to make a difference in society. Alex said, hoping that the conversation will end here. But his luck wasn't so good. Yeah, one more interesting thing is that the vigilante we are talking about seems to be living around Brooklyn. What? Alex shouted suddenly, attracting the attention of the other customers that were peacefully drinking their coffees. He didn't want to react like this, but Matt's words just shocked him too much. He must have followed me around that night. He thought bitterly as despair filled his heart. After giving the flash drive to Ben Ulrich, he had headed straight to his home. Matt must have followed him around that night to know that he lived in Brooklyn. After all, there's no other explanation as to how he knew that he lived around Brooklyn. The only saving grace here was that after reaching Brooklyn, Alex had used one of the abilities of his wolf to hide himself. He would always do it in case someone saw him enter his house while wearing his costume. Why are you so shocked? Matt asked, a small grin covering his face. It's just that I live in Brooklyn too, so it was a bit of a surprise. I can understand that. After all, you don't want someone dangerous living in your neighborhood. Yes, I think you can relate to that. Daredevil lives in Hell's Kitchen, right? Many students in the dojo talk about him from time to time. Alex fired back, tired of being on the defensive. Although he was cautious of Matt due to his investigation skills and the fact that he already was suspicious of him, it didn't mean that he was gonna act like a pushover. Ah, yeah. I have heard about him. Actually, I think you and Daredevil share a lot of similarities. How? Matt raised an eyebrow, the sudden shift of topic making him more cautious towards Alex. Daredevil is famous for helping innocents or those that are less fortunate. Although, his ways are definitely questionable as he doesn't seem to believe in the justice system, but no one can deny that his ways are better in some ways. Alex stopped, catching his breath and trying to figure out what Matt was thinking through his facial expressions. Then, he continued. While you on the other hand help innocents through justice. Even when most of the lawyers didn't dare to take the case, you dared. Between you and Daredevil, there are a lot of similarities and a nice contrast too. Actually, if I didn't know you were blind, I would have wondered if you are Daredevil. Matt was at a loss of words after hearing all this, especially the last line. He wondered if Alex actually knew that he was Daredevil, but he dismissed the notion as it was impossible. He simply nodded his head. Yeah, I guess, we do share some similarities. He laughed meekly as he finished his coffee. Then, he stood up to leave, but it was not before he asked to exchange phone numbers with Alex. I wanted to talk more, but I have to leave now due to a case. It was nice talking to you. Do you mind if we exchange numbers? Yeah, sure, I will give you a call if I get into any legal mess. Those things are quite common anyway. Alex joked as he exchanged numbers with Matt. Sure. With that, Matt left the coffee shop and Alex slumped down on his seat. He felt like he had averted a crisis. Luckily for him, Matt didn't get anything out of his interrogation, at least he hoped so, and he got the number of Daredevil. This will surely help me out in the future. He muttered as he looked at Matt's number on his phone. Comment. 30 comments. Vote. Chapter 26, Chapter 026. Even at the end of the world, people will use social media first. Chapter 026. My stats are growing too slowly. Sitting in his room, Alex frowned as he opened up his status screen. He had gotten a habit of looking through his status every night, but lately, he had been worrying over his lack of strength. His skills were growing steadily along with his wolf, and Alex had even gotten more and more proficient in combat due to his constant tussle with the street gangs and his training in the training room. But the problem still remained about his stats. As he wasn't given super strength like Spider-Man through a spider bite or had been injected with the super soldier serum, Alex's strength was more or less in the realms of ordinary humans if he didn't count his skills. Currently, due to the bonus stats he received and his constant exercise, his stats were akin to an average boxer. Though he wasn't in a hurry to get stronger, Alex very well knew what was coming next. From the Stark Expo to the emergence of Thor, there were a lot of events that made him feel the necessity to grow stronger. The final boss was Loki and the Battle of New York, which was going to take place in the upcoming years. I really need to get as strong as possible till then, Alex said as he looked up at his stats. _____. Alex Crown. Current HP, Hero Points 857. Stats. Strength, 12. 646, plus 5. Vitality, 14. 235, plus 5. Speed, 15. 789, plus 5. Stamina, 13. 134, plus 5. Perception, 16. 457, plus 5. Intelligence, 12. 577, plus 5. Skills. Asterisk flexibility, LV3. Grants flexible and smooth movements during battles. Provides more balance to the body. You can use terrain features like walls, trees and other objects to run, jump and climb freely. With increased proficiency, you can climb tall buildings without falling. Asterisk bullet time, LV3. Once 24 hours, you can enter a state of accelerated movement and perception for 15 seconds, making everything seem extremely slow to your eyes. You can turn it on and off, hence not requiring to use the accumulated time in one go. It will automatically activate in crucial situations or if your life is in danger. Soul Companion. Asterisk Shadow Wolf, LV4. A special companion has been granted to you. A wolf that lives and hunts in the shadows. It has linked with your soul and has accepted you as his master. You can benefit from his powers. ____. My skills have definitely grown, but I can't say the same about my stats. Alex thought, looking up at the holograms in front of him. As his skills have leveled up, it has become a lot easier for him to maneuver around. The duration of his bullet time had gone up 5 seconds every level and his wolf had just become more and more powerful. But the actual problem was that he was still someone who can die by a bullet. His suit will help him to an extent, but it wasn't enough. If one day he gets shot, that will be the end of him. It would be so good if I had a bulletproof body like Luke Cage. Muttering to himself, Alex opened up the hero shop and searched for items that can help him grow his stats. Fortunately for him, there were quite a few of these items. There was a martial skeleton he could buy, and it even came with a cultivation technique like those Chinese wuxia novels he had read in his previous life. But the price was extraordinarily high. Just the lowest level martial skeleton was of 50k HP, and there was no way Alex could afford something like that. He scrolled further and found other items like mana skeleton armor and lightning physique. There were even animal bloodlines like dragon, phoenix. Alex even found a bloodline called Kung Fu Panda bloodline, which unsurprisingly made him chuckle. Although all these items sounded cool and had extraordinary effects, Alex still was too poor to buy any of them. It was akin to a factory worker dreaming about buying a Mercedes. I can't give up yet. There would be something that even I can afford. Yes. I found it. His scrolling stopped as he finally found an item that was in his range. Alchemy Advancement Serum. Made by the Alchemy Empire, which was famous for advancements in the field of alchemy. Can be used to make a breakthrough or increase physical stats. There's a 20% chance of the serum backfiring and having unusual side effects. The user will witness an incredible amount of pain after the usage of the serum. The advancement serum was only worth 2000 HP, which was an amount that Alex can easily earn in the foreseeable future. Even with a 20% chance failure rate, he felt like the serum was all worth it. If he didn't go for it, there was no other way to increase his stats. And it wasn't like the other ways didn't have any side effects. Even the super soldier serum that made Steve Rogers Captain America wasn't perfect. It had a lot of flaws, and only Steve was able to overcome those and become a real super soldier. Otherwise, the serum had only created failures like Red Skull. I need to buy the advancement serum as soon as I get over 2000 HP. If only there was an easy way to earn it quickly. As soon as he said that, he heard his phone vibrate. He picked it up and saw that it was Peter who had texted him, and Alex's eyes widened upon seeing what the text was about. Check the news. They are saying that a big ugly monster is wreaking havoc in Harlem. Alex read the message and immediately understood what was going on. He opened up Twitter and saw that it was filled with people posting about what was happening in Harlem. Some were even saying that it was the end of the world, or how the monster was gonna destroy the whole city and kill everyone. It's the finale of The Incredible Hulk. Creators' thoughts. Extra 26 Extra 26. 2 chaps tomorrow. I'm tired today. Comment. 39 comments. Vote. Chapter 27. Chapter 027 General Ross. Chapter 027. In a military helicopter, General Ross was furiously trying to talk to one of his soldiers down on the street. He had just gotten a confusing piece of information which was making him anxious, as he felt like another threat was upon them. "What do you mean, young man? How can the Hulk be down there? Have you lost your mind?" he shouted as he looked at the man beside him. With black hair and an average-looking face, the man looked insignificant, but his identity was of Dr. Robert Bruce Banner, one of the leading scientists in America, especially on the subject of gamma radiation. But the monster inside of him was something that General Ross feared. Due to an experiment gone wrong, Bruce had turned into a ferocious, primitive creature that had been on the run for several months. They had finally managed to capture it in the end, and he was gonna spend the rest of his life being experimented on. When General Ross had finally taken a sigh of relief, his soldiers had reported that the Hulk had attacked them. "Soldier, the Hulk can't be there." "What are you talking about?" General Ross asked. "There's a monster that attacked us, sir. 2 of our soldiers lost their lives, and currently, he's moving through the streets, destroying everything in his path." A voice that was relatively young and filled with panic came out. "What's going on?" Bruce stood up from his seat and asked, having heard the entire conversation. "Nothing." General Ross grunted and ignored him. "Tell me your coordinates and turn on your body cams. Let me see what's going on there, damn it." 121st Street. Heading north to Broadway. Turn around. The soldier told his coordinates, and the pilot turned the helicopter towards them on General Ross's orders. Then, the old general, the other soldiers, and Betty Ross, Bruce's lover and General Ross's daughter, looked at the screen where the footage from the soldier's body cam was displayed. On the screen, a screen straight out of hell was playing out. A green, ugly monster was throwing cars around and destroying everything in his way. Betty's eyes filled with despair as she saw the monster kill innocent people and laugh as the monster threw the dead bodies around. Then, he picked up a burning car and threw it on top of a group of running people, killing all of them in the process. The police tried to fire at him, but the bullets seemed to bounce back after hitting the monster's body. It was like a simple bullet cannot even scratch him. The monster killed most of the policemen by taking a big slab of concrete and throwing it on them. General Ross's men saw it and realized that bullets won't do anything on him. So, they took out the rocket launcher, prepared it and aimed at the monster. The rocket struck, but it merely caused a small explosion which didn't seem to even hurt him. But the rocket did shift the monster's attention to General Ross's men. He grinned at them and began to sprint towards them, destroying the road and pushing out the people in front of him. The army men saw him coming their way and tried to run away, but it turned out to be nothing but a mere fantasy. The monster picked up a taxi and slammed it down on the men, killing both the taxi driver and General Ross's men. The last thing that they heard before the screen blanked out was, "Bring me a worthy opponent." What? What is that thing? Betty put a hand on her face as she looked at her father. Do you know who he is? Is he one of your men? Bruce also pitched in, still horrified by what he had just seen. Do you know what you have done? One monster is enough for this world. Why are you creating more of them? Emil Blinsky. One of my best soldiers. And now, a monster destroying Harlem. General Ross didn't say anything in argument as he simply looked away from Bruce and his daughter and gave out an order. Tell all the units to move to Harlem. We need to destroy him or he will burn down the whole city. Before the soldiers could even act on their orders, Bruce stopped them and said, "Stop. More soldiers won't work. He's burning the whole city and your soldiers will just become ash alongside the city. Then, what should I do? Run away?" General Ross grunted back. "No, let me handle this," Bruce said, getting a worried reaction from Betty. "Bruce, what are you saying? You don't mean..." "I mean that. No one other than what's inside of me can fight off that abomination. But you don't even know if that thing inside of you will help you. You said you cured it. You are just gonna die, like this," she said, her voice cracking. "I won't. The Hulk won't let me die." He looked at her and squeezed her hands, reassuring her. They both kissed. Then, he raised his head at General Ross, who looked unsure of his idea. "Are you sure you can do this? You can't even control that thing." "I certainly don't want two monsters destroying the city. You have already killed a lot of people in that form. No, trust me. It will work. I can't control it but I can aim it. Aim it at that monster. Please trust me." General Ross took a second before looking at the pilot. He wasn't sure of Bruce's idea, but if it worked, it was way better than what they have. They were running out of time and it seemed like the best idea. "Open the back door." The back door opened as Bruce walked towards it. Facing Betty, he nodded his head at her and opened his mouth. "I will be back. Just be okay." Then, he jumped out of the helicopter. Creators' thoughts. Extra 26. Another chapter in an hour or two. Please vote. Comment. 21 comments. Vote. Chapter 28, Chapter 028 Hulk. Chapter 028. From what Alex remembers, The Incredible Hulk was the second movie for the MCU, and although it was a forgettable movie for most MCU fans, it had introduced Bruce Banner aka Hulk to the big screen. One of the reasons it was forgettable was also because the role of Hulk was recasted later. Edward Norton, who had originally played the Hulk, had fallen out with the studio and Mark Ruffalo was then cast in it, becoming fan favorite later on. Just to know which actor Bruce Banner resembled in this world, he had searched for information about him and was surprised to find out that Bruce didn't resemble any of the two actors. It wasn't the first scene that he had witnessed something like that, as even Matt Murdock didn't look exactly like Charlie Cox. Although the resemblance was there, the faces didn't match. Alex didn't actually hate it as for him. It was more weird if every Marvel character really looked like the actors that played them on the big screen. It was fine with characters like Iron Man or Spider-Man, but it was more than just weird if everyone looked like movie stars. I should focus on what's ahead. Alex shook his head of all these thoughts and jumped on top of a rooftop, then he looked down at the streets that were burning. Cars were thrown here and there and some of them even had dead bodies inside them. The police were trying to get the people to safety, already given up on any chance of fighting with the ugly, green monster that seemed to have gone on a rampage. Even with that, many people were dying and the rest of them were busy running to safety. Standing in the middle of all the chaos was Abomination. He looked like a giant monster with bones protruding out of different places in his body. His appearance resembled one of a fish and Alex felt like he looked even more sinister than what he had looked in the movie. In front of Alex, Abomination picked up a police car and slammed it down on some civilians, killing them in an instant. Then, he let out a roar and laughed like he had gone mad. Although Alex has seen some bloody scenes till now in his short career of being a superhero, he still felt his insides churning out seeing so many people suddenly dying and body matter and blood spilling here and there. MCU does well in keeping it PG. But in real life, it just looks disturbing. As soon as he thought that, he heard a loud noise. Turning his head around, he saw Hulk jumping out from a crater in the earth. Most of his shirt was ripped due to his transformation and he looked angry like someone had disturbed his sleep in the middle of the night. Finally. Let's see who is more worthy. Abomination laughed like he was in ecstasy seeing Hulk. He always wanted to prove that he was stronger than him and now, they can finally duel it out once and for all. Hulk grunted in response and ran towards Abomination. Both Hulk and Abomination let out a roar as the world shook with each of their steps. They lunged at each other, only for Abomination to counter Hulk's attack and throw him across the street. Alex could easily see that Abomination was way more bigger than Hulk and his strength seemed to be on the greater side too as he was easily able to overpower Hulk. Get up, Hulk. Abomination laughed and sneered at Hulk as he struggled to get back on his feet due to the impact of the previous attack. You are just a coward. Maybe due to being too angry because of the insults thrown at him by Abomination, Hulk got up and smashed a police car that was parked beside him in 2 pieces. Then, using those pieces as brass knuckles, he smashed Abomination when he came close to him. Abomination tried to hit back but it was of no use. With the huge metallic boxing gloves, he punched him into the pavement with a deep crater forming. That fight is too intense. Alex muttered watching the whole fight. He knew that it was just the beginning of a duel between 2 overpowered giants and even if he tried to get involved in it, he would just get killed, especially when the Hulk didn't know that he was on his side. The last thing that Alex wanted was to die in friendly fire. So, he focused on the stuff he could do and that was helping the innocents that needed his help. Due to the impact of the battle between Hulk and Abomination and the random debris flying here and there, a lot of people were getting injured. The police were busy getting people out of the area and there was no one to help the people that were stuck. Alex saw a man trapped under a concrete slab with blood marks on his legs. He was crying and besides him, a black guy was trying hard to move the debris but to no avail. Let me help you out. Alex landed straight beside the 2 men and offered to help. Why yeah. Although he was surprised due to his strange appearance, the black man nodded his head. The concrete slab was too heavy for Alex but due to the help of the black man, he was able to hold it for a moment. It was just enough for the man to crawl out of it slowly. Take your friend and leave. Otherwise, you two will lose your lives here. As Alex was saying that, he suddenly saw a broken car flying their way through the corner of his eye. He immediately turned around as for a moment, the world slowed down for him. He focused on the power inside of him and released it in the form of a wild, ferocious wolf. The wolf immediately understood his master's orders and took out his claws. His claws shined as they struck the car, breaking it down into several pieces. Wow! The two men who had just seen a scene straight out of a fantasy movie exclaimed in shock. Alex looked at them and shouted, "Go leave now." Although shocked, the two men nodded their heads and left. Alex took a glance at the ongoing battle between Hulk and Abomination, which was destroying the whole Harlem, and frowned. Like their fight, his work was just starting too. Creators' thoughts. Extra 26 Extra 26. Last chap for today. Comment. 31 comments. Vote. Chapter 29, Chapter 029 Abomination's Rage. Chapter 029. Thank you. Really thank you. A woman sobbed as she thanked Alex for saving her. She had nearly died due to a lamp post suddenly falling down on her, but Alex had managed to save her on time. It's fine. Leave now. Alex promoted the woman to leave and she nodded her head and ran. After she left, he took a deep breath and looked around him. He had already managed to help a lot of people, but it felt like more people were dying every second. He was still surrounded by burning shops and pieces of debris. Harlem had become a bloody mess and it was just getting worse. The worst part was that the police and military were unable to do anything and the common people were the ones suffering. Hulk and Abomination were still causing a lot of destruction and Alex's efforts were nothing but cleaning after their mess. More and more people will die if the fight doesn't end. At first, he had planned to not participate in the fight between Abomination and Hulk as he knew his capabilities well. But looking at the dead bodies around him, has a change of heart. The fight was taking too long and he didn't want to see more casualties piling up. Suddenly, the sound of an explosion rang out as Alex turned his head to look at a helicopter which was in the middle of crashing down. Abomination was holding onto the helicopter and Hulk was trying his best to shake him away from it, punching and pulling at him, even trying to crack his exposed spine. The helicopter will soon crash. Alex muttered and ran towards it. It was his chance now and he wasn't going to just sit back and see everything unfold in front of his eyes. Like he had thought, the helicopter soon crashed to the ground with Hulk and Abomination being briefly separated. He didn't know if the people inside of the helicopter were alive or not, but he could see that sparks were cackling and the fuel was pouring out of the engine. Even if they are alive, they will soon be engulfed by flames. Alex focused on running as the hero shop appeared in front of him. He quickly searched through an item that he had specially prepared for this event. Although the item was a bit expensive and was one-time consumable, he didn't think twice before buying it. By the time he had reached the helicopter, Hulk and Abomination had restarted their fight. The ugly fish monster was punching Hulk repeatedly, pinning him down to a wall. His whole body looked way more bruised than Alex had ever imagined and he was unable to do anything against Abomination. Hulk wanted to rush past him and save General Ross and Betty from dying, but the Abomination was way more powerful than him and even if he tried to push him away, his strength wasn't enough. "You don't deserve this power." Abomination sneered as he landed a punch. The sound of sparks cackling was getting louder and fuel was repeatedly leaking out of the helicopter. At that moment, Alex reached the helicopter and glanced at the bashing that Abomination was giving Hulk. Why does he look so much bigger suddenly? He thought but didn't focus much on their flight. If he doesn't do anything fast, the helicopter will soon catch fire due to the leaking fuel. Alex quickly took out the item that he had just bought and shouted, "Don't worry, I have got this." He threw a sticky substance towards the fuel tank and covered it. It was called Stick Bomb and just one of them costed 20 HP. It was quite similar to Spider-Man's webs, but Alex wasn't able to figure out what substance it was made of. Just that its tensile strength was way more than Spider-Man's webs. Anyway, the items in his hero shop were often not from this dimension. Alex continued to throw 3 more stick bombs on the tank, completely stopping any leakage. After the chopper was out of danger, Betty Rose and General Ross pulled themselves out of it and stared at the masked figure before them in wonder. "Who are you?" the old general asked. "Ah, you can call me Licken," Alex said awkwardly. "I'm just trying to help." "Who sent you?" "You can't be from the military." "No one really sent me." "Bruce." As Alex was trying to explain himself, Betty suddenly shouted, her eyes filled with horror and pain. He turned around and saw a scene that he had never imagined to happen. What the? Hulk was lying on the ground, his body completely limp as Abomination continued to kick him. Glowing green blood was flowing from several places in his body and he looked like he was taking his last breaths. This didn't happen in the movie. The final fight scene played out in Alex's mind as he saw Hulk getting trashed by Abomination, which was completely contrary to what had happened in the movie. In the movie, Hulk had managed to strangle Abomination with a chain and won the fight. Although he had not killed him due to Betty, he had left Abomination on the verge of death. But the scene in front of Alex was completely different from the movie. At this moment, it felt like Abomination was gonna kill Hulk. "Stop. Please don't kill him." As Abomination was gonna land another punch, Betty suddenly shouted and it caused Abomination to suddenly stop the punch in midair. Then, he turned his head and looked at Betty, his gaze glancing around to General Ross and Alex. "You are right. I should not kill him so soon. After all, he hasn't even seen the death of his lover. And General, I want to pay my thanks to you two for giving me an opportunity to attain such godlike strength," he said and let out an angry roar. Creators' thoughts. Extra 26 Extra 26. Licken vs Abomination tomorrow. Comment. 41 comments. Vote. Chapter 30, Chapter 030 Licken vs Abomination, Part 1. Chapter 030. I will die today. That was the thought inside Betty's head as she saw Abomination approach her. Behind him, Bruce was already defeated and she knew that there was no chance he would wake up to save her. Maybe it was just because of her father's bad deeds that they were gonna receive an end like this. It was just karma. One of the soldiers in the back tried to shoot him with a gun, but the bullets easily bounced off his unbreakable skin like they were raindrops. Unbelievable. Betty grimaced as she saw the scene. I will give you all a slow death. Abomination sneered and laughed haughtily like he was the strongest person in the world and no one could stop him now. He walked slowly, crushing the bullets that had bounced off his skin, enjoying every step as he watched the horror inside the eyes of General Ross. The general that had ordered him around till now was shaking due to him. It was something that he enjoyed as much as he could. Abomination was just 5 feet away when the general stepped up, trying to pacify him and remind him that he still belonged to the military. Emil, young man, you still belong to the military. We can do so much with you at the lead. America will be unrivaled. Why do you think I need the military? Emil laughed at the audacity of General Ross's words. He continued, can't you see the power I have currently? I'm the strongest. I don't need the military when I'm way stronger than it. I can rule over you all. He pointed at General Ross. I don't need you to order me around. With that, he took his fist and punched the general, expecting to give him a horrific death, but before his punch could touch General Ross, something leapt at him. It was a ferocious wolf that looked real yet unreal at the same time. An energy burst happened as the wolf dug through Abomination's ugly skin, its claws digging gouges in his skin. Abomination crashed into the wall due to the outburst, the wall crumpled under his weight. What is this? A wolf. He got up and glanced at Alex and his wolf, surprise showing on his face. Even the general, Betty and the soldiers had a shocked expression on their faces, seeing a wolf come directly out of Alex. In the end, I have to fight Abomination. Nice. Alex thought sarcastically as he looked at Abomination. His wolf circled around him, awaiting Alex's mental command. Who are you? Abomination asked, staring up at him. Lycan. What kind of name is that? And what's with that appearance? It was the only one available and I don't think you should comment on someone's appearance. Abomination squinted his eyes, seemingly gotten more angry by Alex's remark. He rushed at him and the wolf leapt. Alex made the wolf aim for Abomination's throat, but he got his forearm in the way. It gnawed on that instead, claws trying to rip into his skin. Abomination swore, then punched the wolf with his right arm. Alex felt the wolf's pain as it whimpered slightly. But there was no backing away. No matter how strong Abomination's blows were, Alex only had his wolf to counter. He didn't have any strength to face Abomination head-on, and just one punch was enough to transform his body to paste. Just until Shield is here, he thought in his mind as he gave another command to his wolf. The wolf bit down again on Abomination, this time harder. An intense struggle broke out between them as Abomination tried his best to hold on to the wolf and slam it into the surface. But the wolf was stubborn, trying everything to cause more and more damage to Abomination. Ow! The wolf growled as Abomination punched him right into the face, causing it to stumble back, but it stood right back up instantly. If it was still first level as before, the wolf would have never stood a chance against Abomination. But after bonding and leveling up, it could at least hold back Abomination for a while. You are an annoying animal, Abomination said and roared, rushing at the wolf. He punched, but the wolf dodged it and tackled him, slamming him down to the ground. Then, it began to repeatedly slash at his face. One strike after another. Ah! Abomination screamed as claws dug through his skin, making blood gush out of it. In his anger, he gave up trying to defend and grabbed the wolf by the neck. Then, he growled and bashed the wolf on the ground. A painful yelp came out of it as Abomination continued to bash him around. The wolf tried to counter it, but it had no effect. He was thrown into one of the walls, his form becoming lighter and lighter until he lost all his strength, fading away. The particles that made the wolf flew back to Alex's body as he cursed. Shit! His wolf had lost all his powers and he would be unable to form it again for a while. That meant that Alex had no way to counter Abomination, with both Hulk and his wolf losing the ability to fight. You have an annoying pet. Abomination frowned, looking at the bite marks on his body. I thought my anger would subside after beating up Hulk, but you have just increased it. He looked at Alex, eyes filled with killing intent. Where is Shield when you fucking need them? He looked around. General Ross and the soldiers had taken a safe spot and there were no signs of military or Shield. Alex was alone, and in front of him, an ugly, fish monster was waiting to rip him to shreds. I don't really have a choice. His heartbeat quickened as he realized what was gonna come next. 15 seconds. That was the time he would be able to stand a chance against Abomination. The total duration of his bullet time, and if he was unable to defeat him in that time, he will lose his life for sure. Fuck. He cursed as the Abomination rushed at him. Creator's thoughts. Extra 26 Extra 26. Up with a fever. No second chap. Comment. 44 comments. Vote. Chapter 31, Chapter 031 Abomination vs Lycan, Part 2. Chapter 031. Prepare to die. Abomination roared as he rushed directly towards Alex, aiming to punch his gut. He wanted to end it quickly as the man in the weird costume had already cost him a lot of trouble. But as soon as Abomination brought his hand to punch him, the perception of time around Alex changed. Things started flowing slowly as his senses got enhanced. His vision was clearer and he was able to even hear the sound of his blood flowing through his veins. He was able to see and hear everything around him in slow motion, like he was not connected to the world and was in his own reality. Alex was able to see Abomination's hand coming close to him. He easily sidestepped and dodged the attack, then prepared to land as many attacks as he could on the big monster. He took out a dagger that he had bought earlier from the shop and aimed at the places where his wolf had left a mark. As he didn't have enough power to penetrate Abomination defenses by himself, he could only aim at the injuries, trying to hit one spot as many times as he could. So, Alex aimed at the place where green blood was gushing out from on his knees. He slashed with his dagger, trying to rip through the wound. That was his best bet and Alex was giving everything into his attacks. In his bullet time, he instantaneously slashed multiple times at the same wound, giving all his strength into it. The sound of an agonizing scream came out from Abomination's mouth as he felt the pain seeping through him. He tried to pick up Alex and slam him down on the ground, but all of his attacks were dodged easily and he wasn't even able to follow his movements with his naked eyes. Why can't I even touch him with this power? I even defeated Hulk. Emil Blinsky thought as he went all out in trying to attack Alex. But not one of his attacks made contact. A punch grazed past Alex's shoulder, but that was it. It made Abomination feel humiliated. Like the time when Hulk had beaten him up when he was still an ordinary human. But now, he had so much power. Still, he wasn't able to touch a human. That enraged him. On the other hand, Alex was getting tired. He has slashed the same spot almost 120 times in 7 seconds, but he could see that it was not working at all. The wound has already started healing shockingly and in bullet time, he was clearly able to see the small things that he would have missed otherwise. What is this crazy healing factor? He thought in his mind as he jumped back to dodge another punch. Like this, I will just die after bullet time ends. There was an option of running away, but Abomination would just chase him around, already infuriated to the fullest. He thought and thought, trying to find a way out of it. He wasn't Hulk that could just smash Abomination unconscious. Nor was he Iron Man with his missiles and repulsors. He only has some skills and his hero shop with his brain. He needed to find a way there. So, Alex searched and searched. Wait. He suddenly thought of something. Dodging another attack at his gut while sidestepping, he opened up his system shop and bought an item that seemed like his only way out. Even though he's a monster, he still is like a human in many ways. For example, he needs eyes to see. Alex thought as he bought a sticky bomb from the hero shop and threw it at Abomination's eyes. Due to the small distance between them, his aim was precise as the stick bomb covered his eyes. What is this? Abomination staggered back, wiping at his eyes, but Alex threw more and more sticky bombs at him, aiming for his whole face. His regard for his HP wasn't much bigger than his life, so he spent most of it to buy sticky bombs. Like their name, sticky bombs were really sticky and they were stretchable and hard to remove. Alex threw one at Abomination's legs, knocking him in one place. You will pay for. He tried to move his foot away, but the bomb stretched and he was locked. Finding the chance, Alex threw more and more sticky bombs all over his body. His chest, face, legs. Everything was covered in it as he fell on his knees. In seconds, he was covered in it from neck to toe, struggling to break through it but was helpless. Seeing that he was unable to move, Alex stepped forward and punched with as much force as he could. The punch didn't do much to Abomination as it was like hitting an unbreakable wall, but it released some of his frustration. As the bullet time ended, Abomination opened his mouth as he struggled. That punch can do nothing. Just wait till I get out of this. You won't be able to. At least until 2 hours. Alex panted, the after effects of bullet time dawning upon him. Moreover, my punch won't do anything, but his punch will. He pointed at Hulk, who had finally recovered from the beating that he had received from Abomination. Hulk looked at Alex, then at Abomination and growled. In the distance, Betty called his name out, but he just gave her a glance and moved in front of Abomination. Do whatever you want with him, Alex said. I'm too tired. He sat down on the ground as Hulk grinned. Then with an iconic line, he began to beat the crap out of Abomination. Hulk smash. Alex didn't know how many punches Hulk threw at Abomination, but he knew that each one would have hurt a lot. Soon, a spotlight suddenly shone down from the air. A helicopter circled around him and Abomination and Hulk stopped his beating. Alex raised his head and realized that it was the time for him to leave. He wasn't ready to deal with either the military or S.H.I.E.L.D. just yet. I just want to sleep now. Creators' thoughts. Extra 26. Only one chapter a day till I get over this stupid fever. Comment. 44 comments. Vote. Chapter 32, Chapter 032 Modification. Chapter 032. Finally here. Alex entered his room through his window and sighed. He glanced at the clock and it was already 3 a.m. in the morning. The duel of Harlem was over and he can finally get some rest now. By the time he had managed to subdue Abomination to the ground, S.H.I.E.L.D. and the rest of the military had finally arrived. As always, they came when everything was already over. Their whole focus was on Hulk and Abomination, so he had sneaked out, too tired to deal with S.H.I.E.L.D. or the military. I just want to sleep now. He laid down on his bed thinking that. A lot of notifications about how much HP he had received and his skills leveling up appeared in his view, but he shrugged them off, deciding to look at them tomorrow. He closed his eyes, wanting to give them a rest. But soon, weird theories related to the fight started going around in his head. Why was Abomination so much stronger? Why didn't it go like the Hulk events? Was he the variant causing a change of events? These types of questions roamed his head as he struggled to sleep. One of his useful hidden abilities was his information about characters and future events, and he felt like he was losing this knowledge too soon. Although he thought and thought, there was no clear answer to all of this. His brain just wasn't working due to being too tired and stressed. His injuries were hurting, but he didn't want to move to heal them. That was the level of exhaustion he was feeling. Finally, after a while, his eyes closed. In between a lot of thoughts and exhaustion, he drifted into dreams. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Your wolf's proficiency has increased. Your wolf's proficiency has increased. Your wolf has leveled up. Bullet time proficiency has increased. Bullet time proficiency has increased. Bullet time has leveled up. Ah, now I'm even waking up to my system notifications. Alex rubbed his eyes as he pulled his body out of the blankets. While doing so, he felt pain and remembered the events that had happened last night. Walking up to the mirror, he took out his shirt and saw marks all over his body. There were red marks everywhere and Alex winced in pain when he touched one of them. I don't think the lowest level healing ointment can heal it, he muttered as he frowned. He mostly used low-level healing ointment from the hero shop to heal himself, but with injuries like this, he needed to buy higher-level ones. And those were too pricey. Alex had already used a lot of HP last night, so he was unsure whether he would be able to buy a higher-level healing potion or ointment. Honestly, his best chance here was to just hope for a miracle. I hope I got a lot of HP. He wore his shirt again, in case his mom walked in, and sat down on the bed before finally checking through all his system notifications. With just a thought, all the unchecked system notifications came into his view. There were those that he had already glanced at once before, like the notifications that he had woken up to. His wolf, aka his soul companion, was level 5 now, and his bullet time has increased his level to 4. This was welcome news for Alex, as it just showed that he was slowly improving. He hadn't thought that he would level up so soon, but thanks to Abomination, he was able to power level. The other notifications were also simple enough, so Alex just went past them without giving a second thought. He was looking for the notifications about his HP. I hope I at least got over 1000. As Duel of Harlem was one of the major early MCU events, Alex has high expectations of it. He had depleted over 500 HP last night in just stick bombs, so he was running low on it. He needed a lot of it to heal himself, so he was fairly hopeful, and after going through a lot of notifications, he finally found the one he was looking for. You have received 1578 HP due to your heroic efforts. It's enough to heal myself. Alex rejoiced as he saw the amount of HP he had received. But soon, he thought of the advancement serum that he desperately needed, and his shoulders sunk down. He would be able to heal himself, but he was back to square one in his journey to buy the advancement serum. As he was thinking that, suddenly, there was a streak of system notification. Alex raised his head to look at it and was stunned to read what was written there. A major checkpoint has been cleared. The total amount of HP earned through the heroic deeds has exceeded a certain point. Appropriate rewards have been generated. The hero shop has gone through a modification. The hero system has gone through a slight modification. All injuries are healed. The user has been granted bonus stat points. Alex stood shell-shocked as a white light shone down on him. It gave him a warm, fuzzy feeling, and in an instant, all his injuries were gone like they never existed. He quickly opened up his status screen and checked. _____. Alex Crown. Current HP, Hero Points 1815. Stats. Strength, 12. 646, plus 10. Vitality, 14. 235, plus 10. Speed, 15. 789, plus 10. Stamina, 13. 134, plus 10. Perception, 16. 457, plus 10. Intelligence, 12. 577, plus 10. _____. There was an additional plus 5 bonus points, which meant Alex was now even more stronger than 2 adults combined. It was a nice bonus, but the thing he was more interested in was the changes in the hero shop. After all, the shop was one that had helped him in defeating Abomination. He opened it, wondering what sorts of changes would have happened and hoping they would be something that would be useful to him. "I can't believe it," he muttered in excitement as he saw the item displayed on the first page of the hero shop. Creator's thoughts. Extra 26 extra 26. There was a HP mistake before. Corrected it. Comment. 39 comments. Vote. Chapter 33, Chapter 033 New Functions. Chapter 033. Weekly Discount. Alex looked at the new feature that had appeared in his hero shop and exclaimed in delight. In front of him was a system prompt that shocked him. New hero shop feature, weekly discount. Every week, one item in the hero shop will have a discount. The discount rate will be based upon your luck. Below that prompt was the item that was listed on the weekly discount, and it was the one that Alex coveted for a while. _____. Alchemy Advancement Serum, weekly discount 50% off. Made by the Alchemy Empire, which was famous for advancements in the field of alchemy. Can be used to make a breakthrough or increase physical stats. There's a 20% chance of the serum backfiring and having unusual side effects. The user will witness an incredible amount of pain after the usage of the serum. _____. It was the same item that Alex wanted, and coincidentally, it was the first item to be listed on the weekly discount. Though, he wasn't sure if it was really coincidental. Am I really that lucky? Or is it just something else? Do I also have convenient plot armor? Alex thought back to the time when he had selected the hero path. Even at that time, Uncle Ben had suddenly appeared in front of him when he was out taking a walk. Not wanting to see him die when he could save him, Alex had selected the hero option. Even at that time, he had felt like it was too odd of an occurrence. Now, he was feeling the same. He wasn't able to shrug off the possibility that someone was pulling strings from somewhere and he had no control over it. If it was the same person that has transported Alex to the Marvel world, then it was best to not go against him or her. At least until he gets to know the intentions behind all this. For now, I guess I can just go along with it. He frowned and moved on to the other changes that had happened to the hero shop, deciding to buy the advancement serum after checking all the features. New hero shop feature, monthly item swap. Every month, many of the items in the shop will swap to alternate ones, which gives an opportunity to grab never seen before items. What? This feature was an unexpected one, and Alex quickly checked the items that he regularly uses, like the healing ointment, and the miscellaneous ones like the sticky bombs. To his surprise, the ointment has been replaced by an item called the Elven Potion, and he couldn't find any signs of sticky bombs. What the fuck? I was gonna use those often from now on. Alex cursed as he guessed that the feature was probably there for him to not get used to items. His system was basically saying to not get overly reliant on one item. Sigh. My system is screwing me over. He sighed in his mind and went over the other upgrades. Some of them were fairly simple, like changing the font in his status screens, and some looked simple but were really useful. One of them was the ability to connect his phone to his system. It seemed like a weird feature, but it essentially enabled him to use his system to search through websites and receive text messages. It was almost as if his system had now become his laptop. Now, I don't have to get bored in geography class. I can just watch a movie on my system and no one will know. Alex grinned, wondering different ways to use his new feature. With that, there was only one new feature left, and that was the inventory. New Hero Shop feature, Inventory. Now you can store all the Hero Shop items in a dimensional space. Only the items purchased from Hero Shop can be stored. This was a feature that hugely excited Alex. With an inventory, he doesn't have to worry about his parents finding out about the items he had bought from the Hero Shop. When he had bought his dagger from the Hero Shop, he had to hide it in his room, and there was a constant fear that his mom would find it out. Though with the inventory, he won't have to worry about stuff like this. Thinking of testing his inventory, he took out the dagger he had bought from the shop. With just a glance at it, information about it came into his view. ____. Black iron dagger. Made of a special metal called black iron. A handy dagger that adventurers love. Highly durable and sharp. ____. The dagger only cost him 100 HP, so he had bought it in case of an emergency. Currently, Alex focused on sending the dagger into his inventory. He thought about the dagger going into his inventory and immediately, it disappeared from his view. With another thought, the dagger reappeared in his hand and Alex grinned. "This is nice," he said, and at that moment, his mom's voice called him out from downstairs. "Alex, are you still sleeping?" "No, I'm awake." "Come down for breakfast," she said, and Alex realized that he indeed felt really hungry. Last night, after coming back home, he didn't even bother to grab something to eat and just slept. Alex walked downstairs and saw his mom setting the food on the table. As he sat on the chair, he saw that there was a news report going on about the incident last night. Two news anchors were discussing the fight and the casualty rate. One of them was blaming the military furiously, as both Hulk and Abomination were the results of their own experiment. As the report went on, they even talked about him. Alex wasn't surprised to see this, as he knew that he would get a lot of attention for what he did yesterday. Even S.H.I.E.L.D. would try to find more information about him. Thinking about it, he just felt a bad headache. Weird things are happening all over New York, his mom said, glancing at the screen. "It's fortunate that those two monsters didn't fight in Queens." "Yeah," Alex bleakly replied, as his thoughts had already drifted to S.H.I.E.L.D. and the future. Comment. 39 comments. Vote. Chapter 34, Chapter 034. Nick Fury. Chapter 034. Inside one of the facilities of S.H.I.E.L.D. What a terrible day it has been. Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and arguably the best spy in the world, Nick Fury, frowned as he leaned back in his chair, his head throbbing from the mess that he hadn't created but needed to clear out. He had just finished attending a meeting with the World Security Council, which had left him frowning at their decisions. Two monsters have decided to duel it out in Harlem, destroying everything in it. The military was slammed hard by the public, and worse than that, now they were trying to stop S.H.I.E.L.D. from interfering. They are just creating more trouble for the world. Fury muttered as the door opened and his right-hand man, Phil Coulson, walked in with some reports. "How's the situation?" "Pretty intense. I tried my best to get Emil Blinsky under our care, so he doesn't try to destroy an entire city again, but Ross is adamant, saying that Emil is his soldier. Bullshit. Fury cursed. So, it seems like we can only send him to the vault. Seems so. Military will never give up custody of Blinsky, he remarked, then asked about Fury's meeting with the World Security Council. How did the meeting go? As expected. Yeah, they want to consider Blinsky for the initial draft. I refused, but they are adamant because of his military background. Coulson nodded his head, already expecting the council to react like this. He placed a file on the desk and slid it to Fury. I found what I can about Dr. Bruce Banner. He's on the run currently, but he seems to be quite unlucky. He smiled. How are we gonna proceed with him? They want to blame him for the Harlem incident, thinking he was the main cause. But I don't think so. Banner can be really useful, Fury said, picking up the file. As a weapon. More than a weapon. His genius can be of major help. So, are we going to go with him? Coulson asked, tilting his head. The initiative was something they have worked hard for a long time, and the final product was soon going to be ready. Just they needed to pick the right players. For now, just monitor him. We can't have another incident, he said, then added. We need to focus on Ross and his plans for now. He's a very ambitious and stubborn man. Yeah, especially after he lost his face. He will try everything to get it back, and the council is with him. It's not the first time. They have tried to interfere in every one of our projects that seemed interesting to them, especially the Avengers initiative. They have tried to shut it down a lot of times. Coulson agreed, familiar with the ways the council worked. He moved on to the next topic, seemingly excited about it. Should I handle the Arctic? No. Fury refused, seemingly unconvinced. They don't need you there. Our team will handle it. I need you to go to someone tougher and more stubborn. Who? Stark. Coulson frowned as soon as he heard those words. He still was confused whether Tony Stark would be an ideal candidate for the team or not. But Director Fury was convinced. Are you sure about him? I seem to have been hearing a lot of bad things about him. According to Romanov, things will just get worse. But we need him. Both for his armor and his brain. Moreover, I need him to handle Ross. Do you mean? Coulson raised an eyebrow and Fury nodded his head, convincing Coulson as to why they were trying so hard for a rich playboy. With that done, they moved over the last line of discussion, which was also the most strange. Hulk and Blinsky were enhanced humans turned monsters, while Stark was a genius, but their last subject was completely different. He can't be properly identified as both. Did you get his file? Fury asked. We are still gathering information, Coulson answered. The code name we are using is Fenrir. Straight from the myths. That's the only name that seemed appropriate after looking at the footage available. What do you think he is? Enchanted or an alien? It's hard to tell. There's no activity to prove that. Fury replied with a grunt. We will know about it eventually. The only thing we need to know is whether he's a threat or not. He saved a lot of people during the incident and ended up defeating Abomination too. So, we can at least regard him as a candidate. Coulson said, then thought back to the footage he had gotten of a wolf storming out of a person. Should I list him down on the index? Yes, I will personally handle him, Fury said, then asked. It's the same guy we were monitoring, right? It was a lucky break. We have him on low-level observation. Didn't think it would give us something. Raise the observation level, Fury said, thinking that the number of candidates were increasing. It was a good thing, but at the same time, it was a headache. Having a lot of people who can do a lot of destruction roaming around freely was never a good thing. At least that's what Fury believed. Just one wrong step and a lot of people are cold bodies. This one is a peculiar case as he's still a teenager. We need to keep a close eye on him, otherwise who knows what will happen. I understand that, sir. Coulson nodded and after a bit more discussion left the room. Sitting alone, Fury thought back to the candidates he had in mind. Every single one was way different from the other in both abilities and personality. A soldier out of time. A genius playboy with armor. A former Russian assassin. A man with a bow and arrow. A scientist turned monster, and now, a teenager with strange powers. He wondered what was next as he stared out of the window. Maybe a god straight out of the sky. Comment. 44 comments. Vote. Chapter 35, Chapter 035 Urgent. Chapter 035. I wonder if Harlem will ever be the same again. Peter muttered as he looked around Harlem. He frowned seeing how this neighborhood had turned into a mess. Only broken buildings and the aftermath of destruction and chaos could be seen. The government is working on it. At least the residents would be reimbursed. Alex said, glancing at a group of former residents that were talking among themselves. It won't be enough. Peter said. They can't do anything for the lives lost. It's never enough. Alex replied, thinking how Peter would react after the Battle of New York in the future. This was just a neighborhood, but the Shi'Tori invasion literally destroyed the whole city of New York. He took a look at damage control workers, a SHIELD organization that was taking care of restoring the neighborhood to its former glory, but he knew that the scars would remain. Over half of the residents had become homeless and many of them had lost their lives just because Abomination wanted to show his powers to the world and defeat Hulk. No matter how Alex thought about it, Marvel World was pretty cruel. What do you think really happened? I heard a lot from my uncle in the morning, but I'm still not sure what would have created those monsters. If it's really gamma radiation, they should have died instead of becoming monsters. Peter said as they passed through a group of damage workers. He had called Alex today to take a look at Harlem and discuss the whole incident. Maybe it's more than that. Alex replied. The government won't reveal everything. It wasn't revealed to the common populace that the military was trying to recreate super soldier serum by using gamma radiation instead of the original Vita radiation used by Dr. Erskine. The revealed information was too small to make out the truth. As he was wondering whether he should talk more about it or not, Peter suddenly said something that piqued his interest. Someone I know said that Dr. Banner was a renowned scientist and it's extremely mysterious how he became Hulk. Alex raised an eyebrow at that. There's probably a lot that went with him. Who are you talking about? He asked, his instincts screaming that there was something going on. Dr. Kurt Connors. Peter said casually, but the name made Alex's heartbeat quicken. He swore in his mind. Fuck, lizard. So, it's following the Amazing Spider-Man plot after all. He looked at Peter, finally understanding why he was so busy these days. At first, Alex had thought it's because Peter was preparing to become Spider-Man. But it looked like it was something more now. Dr. Connors. Isn't he a scientist in Oscorp? Are you working in Oscorp now? Alex said, trying to get more information. You know him. I looked into his research as it looked interesting. How do you know him though? He was my father's friend. I met him a few days back and he was impressed by my thoughts. So, he offered me a job. Peter said, looking a bit proud of himself. After all, Oscorp was one of the top companies in America and even the whole world. Just getting a part-time job there was a significant feat. You are working for Oscorp now then? That's pretty cool. Yeah, it is. Alex didn't know when will Lizard officially appear. For a moment, he wondered whether he should stop Dr. Kurt Connors from evolving into such a creature. But thought against it. Although the timeline he was in was a little different than the MCU one, it at least followed the events in a similar fashion. Changing stuff would just make him lose the advantage over the future. Though, he knew he won't always have that advantage. Anyway, even if he tried to stop Dr. Connors, he didn't have a way. In the movie, he had injected himself with the serum after being fired from the office. Unless he stalked Dr. Connors, there was no way to stop him from becoming a big, green lizard monster. Green monsters are really the trend these days. What does Harry think about you working in Oscorp? Alex asked suddenly, which made Peter surprised because he had never talked about Harry before. That guy would certainly not like Peter working there. Alex has snooped around a bit, looking for information about Harry and Peter's relationship, just to know the dynamics between them. It was better to know in case Harry becomes Green Goblin in the future instead of his father. What he had found was pretty simple. Harry had stopped being friends with Peter after joining high school because of his dad. As Norman Osborn always praised Peter when he would visit Harry's home, the rich kid got a big inferiority complex against him. Because of that, Harry had abandoned Peter straight after entering high school and stopped involving himself with him straight out of jealousy. Now that Peter was working in Oscorp, sooner or later, Norman Osborn will know about it, and Alex can already imagine what he will say to his son. Harry doesn't know, yet. Peter replied, his voice trailing. We don't really talk now, so I never got the chance to tell him. I can understand. But that guy's surely gonna throw a fit when he gets to know. I heard his little gang troubled you in the past. That did happen, but it's fine now. Peter smiled. I think I can handle them if they try to do that again. Before Alex could answer, his phone rang. He picked it up and made a shocked expression as he saw who was calling him. Matt Murdock. It was Daredevil, who he hadn't talked to after that day in the cafe. Who is it? Peter smirked. Don't tell me you got a girlfriend. Nah, I can only wish for a girl for now. Alex shook his head. It's just a friend, he said, then picked up the call. Immediately, Matt's voice came out without even a single hello. I need a little help. Creator's thoughts. Extra 26. Sorry, I was having a headache yesterday and the editor was off too. Comment. 34 comments. Vote. Chapter 36, Chapter 036 Meetup. Chapter 036. What help does he even need from me? Alex wondered as he walked through the streets towards Matt's house. He had texted him the address and Alex had to drop bowling plans with Peter to meet him. It was all because Matt had said it's something urgent. But Alex knew pretty well that Daredevil didn't like to fight with a group. He functioned better alone and didn't feel like teaming up with someone. At least for the time being. Although he was surprised at him wanting help, It didn't surprise Alex as he already knew that Matt knew of his identity. Maybe he even had an idea that Alex knew that he was Daredevil. His mind ran through a lot of stuff as Alex entered Hell's Kitchen. He was already familiar with the area thanks to his vigilante activities. So, it wasn't hard for him to find Matt's address. Climbing the stairs, he knocked on the door and shouted, "Matt! It's me, Alex. Mr. Murdoch." He knocked several times, even shouted, but there was no answer. It was like the whole apartment was empty and no one was inside. Was I pranked by Daredevil? No, there's more to this for sure. He thought and tried to push the door, and surprisingly, it was not locked. The door slowly opened, revealing an empty apartment with no one in sight. Alex remembered a thriller movie that he had watched in his previous life as he entered the apartment. The man has entered his friend's house and found his dead body, ending up as the prime suspect. He would have thought that something similar was going to happen to him if he already wasn't in a world resembling the movies. He's not just hiding in the bat. As he thought that, he suddenly felt a presence behind him. He immediately understood what was going on and jumped, saving himself from a sneak attack. Turning around, he saw Matt standing there wearing the Daredevil costume. A red and black suit with the face mask resembling a Christian devil, making it the perfect suit for someone like Daredevil. "Stop! Why are you?" Alex tried to talk it out, but Matt rushed at him. He jumped at the sofa, saving himself from another attack, but he knew what Matt was trying to do here. That's why, instead of dodging more attacks, Alex chose to believe in the new strength that he has gotten after using the advancement serum and rushed at Matt. Both of them engaged in combat for a while, with Matt displaying his martial arts experience to full display. If he hadn't taken the advancement serum, Alex wouldn't have stood a chance in just a hand-to-hand combat fight, but now he has way more strength and agility. He ducked to his left, dodging one of Matt's jabs. Then, he blocked a punch with his palm, getting a shocked reaction from Matt. "I may not have experience like you, but I make it up with my strength," Alex said, grasping Matt's hand and stopping him from moving for a while. Seeing a chance, he punched with restrained strength, trying to just knock over Matt and not give him serious injuries accidentally. "Ah!" Matt grunted as he got knocked over at the cupboard, destroying it in the process. He hadn't expected such power from Alex, and he was more than just surprised. He pulled his body out of the broken piece of glass and wood. His suit has protected him from any injuries, but it was hard to believe for him that he was knocked over by a teenager. If Stick heard of this, he would say I have lost my way and that even a teenager is knocking me out. He looked over at Alex, who stared back at him, frowning, surely not happy with a surprise attack. But before Matt could say anything, he spoke. "You know it's really rude to call someone to your home and sneak up on them from behind, Matt. What are you saying?" "I know who you are," Alex said, keeping up with his frown. "We both know who we are, so why don't we stop pretending and talk with a straight face? All this acting mysterious over your identity is getting old." To those words, Matt hesitated a bit but nodded. He knew Alex was saying the truth due to his heartbeat, so he removed his mask and walked over to Alex. "Daredevil." Matt pushed his hand forward, reintroducing himself this time with his other identity. "Listen." He shook his hand, releasing a sigh. "Can I ask why you know my identity?" Matt asked, a little sternness in his voice. "You knew about it back in the cafe too, if I'm not wrong." "I did know about it. But I'm sorry, I can't tell you how I know." Just think of it as one of my powers and I like them to be secretive. Even if Alex told someone about him being from an alternate Earth, no one will believe him and he doesn't even know how Matt would react if he knows that he's a comic book character. Did you tell anyone about? I won't dare to. You know my identity too and I think we both are trying to do the same thing, fight Kingpin, so it's not good to go against each other. Matt nodded, finding no lies in Alex's words. He has looked into Alex after finding out his identity and there was nothing suspicious about him. Almost to the extent of making Matt wonder how exactly he got his powers when there was not even a small accident in his record. Can I ask why you suddenly attacked me as soon as I came in? Alex asked, sitting down on one of the chairs. Don't tell me it was a test to determine if I can be of use to you. It wasn't. I don't doubt your abilities, especially after knowing about what you are capable of. Not anyone can fight a monster like that and come out alive. I was just doing a final confirmation. To know if I'm really Lycan or not. Yes. Alex has already guessed it, so he just shook his head and moved on to the next conversation topic. Matt has called him here for help and he was really curious about what type of help he wanted. Comment. 29 comments. Vote. Chapter 37, Chapter 037, End of the Russians, Part 1. Chapter 037. What do you mean you see the world on fire? Alex asked as he leaned against the surface and looked down, standing on the roof. There was a taxi standing in the empty alley and both he and Matt were waiting for the owner of the taxi to emerge. He had gone into a storeroom which was used by some of the Russian gang members as a temporary hideout. I am blind, but you can say I see more than others. I feel stuff, way more than what humans can. Vibrations, air density, temperature, every little micro change in the surroundings. He looked at him for a moment before ending. All these things come together to build an impressionistic painting. Kinda like seeing the world on fire. I can't imagine a life where I have to see the whole world burning every single moment. You get used to it. Alex nodded his head. He already knew about Matt's powers and his background, but as he can't act like he knows everything, he needed to pretend to not know about it before. Anyway, he thought of it as a way to bond with Matt. No matter what world you are in, connections will always help you out in life. That was something that Alex knew very well, and having a deeper friendship with Matt would only help him out in the future. At least I would have a lawyer in case I got sued. He thought as Matt suddenly asked. What about your powers? Where did you get them from? They are rather unique. Yeah, I guess having a shadow wolf as a pet is a rare thing. Alex replied, already prepared for this type of question. As his powers weren't the usual kind and there was not even a record of him having gone through an experiment or even an accident, it was really hard for him to explain his powers to someone. It was only Matt asking currently, but in the future, more people will ask about it, especially S.H.I.E.L.D. So, it was really important for him to stick to a story. Even if it was a made-up one. I honestly don't know where I got my powers from. It was like a dream, but I wasn't sleeping. Someone asked me to choose between being a hero and villain, and I choose to be a hero, thinking it's the right way. When my eyes opened, I had these powers. Matt listened keenly to Alex's words, being confused at what he was saying at first, but noticing that his heartbeat was running normally and there were no particular changes to his stress levels, he chose to believe him. Even if the story Alex was telling him was really hard to understand, it at least wasn't a lie. Who asked you to choose? Matt asked. I don't know. Pretty sure it's someone really powerful. How does your wolf function? It's kinda like a soul and it lives within me. I feel it and I call it out whenever I want it. Protect. He's here. Matt suddenly cut him off, hearing footsteps emerging from the storeroom. Alex looked down and saw a bearded Russian man opening a door and moving towards the taxi. How are we gonna get the information out of him? He looked at Matt and asked. Leave that to me. Just use your wolf for a little intimidation. Got it? They jumped down from the roof when the Russian was opening his taxi door. He was startled when Matt and Alex suddenly appeared right behind him. What the fuck? Realizing who they were, he tried to run away instead of trying to fight, but Matt grabbed his hands and slammed his head into the roof of the taxi. A painful groan came out of the Russian mouth as despair filled his heart. What do you want? He grunted. Leave me. I'm even thinking of leaving the gang. I don't care about that. Matt held his head and grinded it on the taxi. Now, the only way I will let you go is if you tell the truth. Only the truth. Otherwise, I will show you hell, and let me tell you what hell looks like. He gestured towards Alex, who focused the stable energy inside him and formed the wolf in front of him, terrifying the Russian and startling Matt a little, who was seeing his wolf for the first time. I haven't fed it for a while and Russians are one of its favorites. So think before lying. The finishing touch was the wolf growling towards the Russian man, who had already lost his will at this point. Where are they hiding the heroin? Matt asked in a heavy voice. I don't know, Ag. Matt slammed his head again, making blood flow out from his head. Last chance. I'm talking. Don't hurt me more, please. Say. 11th Avenue. Behind Troika Restaurant. There's an abandoned building. They are hiding all the material there before transporting it outside the city. What about the enhanced with them? Those people with special abilities. Alex perked up his ears when Matt asked that, curious to know about it too. In his mind, there was a suspicion that the enhanced people were mutants. But he had no way of confirming it. I don't know. Vladimir hired them from someone. I don't know who, but he hired it due to you two. He was sure that you will try to do something while they are relocating. He's smart. Matt muttered, pulling the Russian gangster in front of him. He tried to struggle, but it was of no use. Matt punched him in the face and he got knocked down on the ground after hitting his taxi. He will be out for some hours. At least until someone finds him lying here. We can finish our work by then. Yeah. Alex nodded, glancing at the Russian gangster before pulling in his wolf. Then, both of them left towards the warehouse. Creators' thoughts. Extra 26. Release schedule will be shaky this week. It will be normal from next week. Merry Christmas. Although it's late. It was going to be uploaded sooner, but because of a bug, I wasn't able to. Comment. 18 comments. Vote. Chapter 38, Chapter 038, End of the Russians, Part 2. Chapter 038. Sergei / one of the members of the Russian mob. Sergei had been working for the gangs for a long time. It began in his teenage years in Russia with his father, a wanted criminal himself, getting shot by the rival gang. He had then started smuggling drugs in order to survive, and it was during that time he had met Vladimir and Anatoly Ranskov, both brothers already infamous for all the wrong reasons. He had done some work with them before they were roped in by a mysterious international terrorist organization, 10 rings. Years later, both the brothers have called Sergei to join their new crime syndicate away from Russia in the United States of America. He had happily accepted their offer after thinking for a bit, wanting to create a new start in New York. Here, they created the Russian gang, becoming feared as the years went by. Soon, the gang was working with top players and things were finally looking bright, both for Sergei and the Russian gang. They had gotten a deal with Kingpin and the Hand to transport the purest heroin in the whole world, Steel Serpent. A product that had become an instant hit, and they were even able to acquire the assets of their rivals, making the gang richer and richer day by day. Things were going so smoothly that Sergei thought that moving to New York was the best decision he made in his life. But he was too early in thinking that. Soon, a vigilante started interfering in all their work. From human trafficking to drug deals, he interfered at every step, which made the job harder day by day. The vigilante went on to be called Masked Man to the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. The gang was trying to deal with him when another one showed up. This time, a little different and magical. He stopped their prostitution racket and day by day became a worse problem for them. It wasn't just once that he had heard Vladimir yell about the vigilantes, saying that they can be killed by a bullet as they aren't wearing $1 billion armor. Sergei had thought that the vigilantes were enough trouble when the worst had happened. The Russian gang had got in a fight with Kingpin himself, which resulted in the death of Anatoly Ranskov, and the Kingpin had ordered the destruction of the Russian mafia. With the loss of his brother and the other gangs becoming their enemy, Vladimir ordered them to steal all the Steel Serpent drug and relocate. Although it sounded easy, everyone in the gang knew it wasn't. It basically meant stealing from the mafia boss of New York City, and many members of the mob even tried to leave the gang. But once, one of them was shot dead by Vladimir, the other ones didn't dare to complain. The situation was pretty restless for a while before Vladimir assured everyone by bringing in 2 people that Sergei wasn't able to identify as humans. They can do much more than what humans are capable of. Stuff that just seemed straight out of a fantasy movie. The best example of their power was when Daredevil tried to destroy the Steel Serpent drug that they had been relocating. The fight between the two Enhanced and Daredevil was something he had never seen before, and it was the first time he had seen the Devil of Hell's Kitchen being this vulnerable. He had managed to flee, but it was a victory that assured Sergei that they could really stand a chance against the vigilantes and Kingpin. What was that? As he was in thoughts, Pyotr, another member of the gang, and his friend muttered, startling him out of his trance. What was what? He asked, pulling out his gun. A noise. Pyotr said. I'm pretty sure I heard a noise. They both were guarding the ground floor, in case of an attack. Both Kingpin and the vigilantes were masters in finding hiding spots, and Vladimir didn't want to take any chances. All of the stolen drugs had been transported here, and tomorrow it would go outside the city from a secret passage. But till then, they needed to make sure nothing happened to it. Shoot as soon as you see a shadow. Sergei instructed his partner, and they both walked slowly through the hallway, trying to keep an eye everywhere. I think someone is there around the corner, Pyotr said as he loaded his gun. They walked silently, like a loaded spring. As they reached the end of the hallway, Pyotr poked his head around the corner for a second before pulling back. There's no one. Sergei looked over, hearing that, finding no one in the vicinity. He held his gun up and checked again, but he couldn't find even a single rat. It was empty. Are you sure you heard something? He asked his partner. I don't know. Pyotr muttered, unsure of himself. I just heard a noise, but maybe I was mistaken. Be sure of stuff like this, You nearly gave me a heart attack. Sergei frowned and suddenly raised his head, shocked by what he was seeing. Two people were up on the ceiling, their hands and feet applying enough pressure to keep them in place. Their unique outfits made him recognize them in an instant. He pulled his gun to shoot, but Matt threw his baton at him, knocking his gun out of his hand. While Alex jumped down on Piotr, taking him down by a kick. Then, he punched Sergei. The Russian gangster tried to block his punch, but the power behind it easily cracked his bones, making him scream in intense pain. I need to get used to controlling my strength, Alex thought as he sent another jab at Sergei. This time with controlled strength. The attack knocked him down and Alex looked at his partner for tonight. I think we are clear to go. There are more of them on the upper floors. 6 of them on the next. I can smell bullets, so we need to prepare for some firing. Matt muttered as Alex wondered what bullets smell like. Comment. 20 comments. Vote. Chapter 39, Chapter 039 End of the Russians, Part 3. Chapter 039. Matt and Alex walked through the stairs, trying to watch out for any members of the Russian gang coming down. The place was eerily quiet, and what was more eerie to Alex was Matt. Although he knew that Matt was skilled, it was a completely different experience seeing it up close. Not only was he a skilled fighter, he acted like a professional assassin with his steps not making even a single sound. To follow him, Alex also wrapped a layer of his shadow wolf on his body. It didn't make him disappear from his surroundings, but it did help him not make any sound while walking. Surprisingly, Matt noticed it when he did that, giving him a look but not saying anything. The building was not old, but it definitely has an abandoned feel to it. From what Alex can gather from the internet, it used to be the office of a mid-sized corporation before it got involved in a few scandals. It had been a few years since then, and the Russian gang was now using it as their hideout. Well, a temporary hideout. They have people in all the 6 floors and all of them are armed. It seems like they were expecting our arrival, so they are prepared. Matt muttered without looking back at Alex. Or they were expecting Kingpin to attack them. Alex replied. Either way, we need to fight our way through. Can you sense the drugs? Matt nodded. Top floor. The 2 enhanced are protecting the heroin. I don't think the leader of the Russian gang, Vladimir, is in the building. Tough luck, Alex said as they faced a door, leading to the first floor. Both of them looked at each other as Alex took a deep breath, calming down his nervousness. He hadn't been in building fights before, and now, he was facing the entire Russian mob with a blind lawyer. It felt a little crazy to him, but he was prepared. He could feel it. I have not asked yet, but can you deal with the bullets? Matt gave him a final look before they went inside. It's hard to dodge them in closed space. Don't worry. Alex smiled. It would have been a problem before, but not now. With a nod of his head, Matt kicked the door, revealing 9 Russian guys aiming their gun at them. It seemed like they were notified that they were coming. Alex wondered how, but he didn't have the time to think about it. The sound of bullets getting shot and a baton hitting a man rang out as Alex twisted out of the way of a bullet. I should really think of getting a weapon. At least a gun. He thought as he moved, dodging bullets and throwing a piece of wood that was on the floor at the guy standing closest to him. Then, he turned around and focused the energy inside of him to release at 3 Russians trying to aim a bullet in his head. The wolf managed to scare all the other Russians inside the floor, aside from knocking the 3 Russians consciousness, which gave Matt enough time to clear the floor. He slammed one of them in the head with his baton, then threw it at another guy. Then, he sprinted towards one who tried shooting at him, but like he was in the bullet time, Matt easily dodged the bullets and punched the man in the face, the force behind it slamming him into the ground with some of his teeth broken. The rest two of them were taken care of by Alex as they tried to get a shot at him. When he easily ducked and blocked the bullets, one of them threw his gun away and rushed at him, overestimating his strength. The Russian guy punched, but it only touched air as Alex sidestepped and grabbed his arm. He twisted it and the man cried out in intense pain. The last Russian tried to again fire at him, not caring about his gang member, but Alex threw the man at him, knocking both of them out. With that, the floor was clear. "Are they all out?" He looked at Matt and asked. Matt took a while as he sensed the knocked-out gang members before shaking his head. He suddenly walked up to one of the fallen guys who was trying to reach for his gun and kicked him in the stomach, then he picked him up by the collar and smashed him into the table. "Now they are all out." "Good," Alex muttered, feeling amazed and thankful for Matt's senses. "I'm pretty sure the people on the upper floors would have heard the commotion. They would be coming at us." "Yeah." Matt raised his head to look at the ceiling. "They are rushing down the stairs. If we keep going, we will encounter 12 of them on the stairs. Some on the upper floors are prepared to shoot at the sight of us. It will be a pretty rough evening." "Seems so." They moved up the stairs, not worrying about the gangsters. Although there were a lot of them, both Alex and Matt had enough powers to deal with them. "I would have never been able to stand a chance without my improved stats," Alex thought as he moved. He had already taken the advancement serum a few days ago and it was almost miraculous, improving his stats to a point where he never thought was possible. All of his physical stats have improved, making him more agile and strong. Sadly, it was still not to the point of Captain America or Spider-Man, but with his wolf, he was pretty sure he stood a chance against them. "They are coming," Matt suddenly said, taking a step on the stairs. "Be prepared." "Okay," Alex said as he focused. The energy inside of him started rotating, taking a form. This time, with much more strength. The wolf understood his master's intentions as at the first sight of the Russian gangsters, it leaped out of his body as his claws came out and attacked the man who were too shocked to even use their gun. It moved through them, destroying their weapons and slashing their skins. In just a minute, all the men were on the ground and Alex could only grin at the prowess of his wolf. Comment. 26 comments. Vote. Chapter 40, Chapter 040 End of the Russians, Part 4. Chapter 040. So this is what those secret agents in spy thrillers feel like. Alex thought as he hid behind a table with a barrage of gunshots being fired at them. They were currently on the 5th floor and it was the floor with the largest number of men, and the worst part was that they were all equipped with assault rifles. They were currently taking cover behind a table, but the situation was really dire for them. Alex was a little exhausted after fighting so many gangsters and Matt's condition was even worse than him. "Are you okay?" Alex asked as he looked at Matt. He groaned in response and put a hand on his side, which was bleeding due to a surprise attack. "Give me a minute," Matt said, taking ragged breaths. "I will get used to the pain, but we seem to be in a bit of a tricky situation even without those enhanced interfering." "Yeah, they really seem to be going out with everything they have," Alex muttered as he took a peek. There were 13 men in the room and they all seemed to be notable members of the gang, with their skills being above the rest. They are using assault rifles and even have grenades. It would be hard to deal with them, he said, turning to Matt. AKS-74U. I recognize the smell. Those are hard to deal with. And you can't fight like this. I can. I have gone through worse situations with even worse wounds. Matt replied, but Alex wasn't convinced. The problem wasn't the Russians. Alex can still think of ways to defeat them, but they needed to preserve their power for the enhanced guys. And like this, he was certain that Matt won't be able to stand a chance when the real fight will start. Looks like I don't have any option, he thought, taking a final look at Matt's wounds before pulling out an elven healing potion from his inventory. Matt was surprised when he felt the vibrations in the air change suddenly in front of Alex. Did you do something? I sensed you pulling out something straight out of nowhere, he asked, confused. Yeah, just drink this. He handed him a vial filled with red blood liquid. You will be fine after drinking. Just don't be too shocked. What is this exactly? Matt asked. I have never smelled this scent before. Hard to explain with all those Russian guys wanting to blow our brains. Just trust me and drink it, he insisted, then took another peek at the men. I will deal with all of them till then. Alex didn't give Matt a chance to respond and jumped in front, surprising the Russians. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes for a moment. I wanted to save my precious 3 minutes, but I guess it's true, it never goes the way you want, he thought, and opened his eyes, the world changing in front of him as he saw bullets leaving the metallic machines in slow motion. 1 minute. That was the time he wanted to end it in. Alex picked up a table and threw it at 3 Russians on the side, bullets making holes in it in the air. Then, he sprinted towards another guy, ducking as the bullets flew above his head, and punched him in the face. Then, he twisted his arm. As the sound of bone cracking came off, he kicked him. Then he turned around and kicked another guy in the gut with a punch in his throat. The Russians were humans, so unlike Abomination, they weren't able to react at all. It was almost like Alex was Quicksilver, from X-Men universe, for 3 minutes. He punched, kicked, slammed and stabbed all the Russians, repeating his actions again and again until he was sure they wouldn't be able to move back up. It was kind of tiring but fun at the same time. I guess this is enough, he muttered as he slammed a man directly into the wall. Feeling like he can end it now, he stopped his bullet time, and as his perception of time slowed down, the effects took place almost instantly. Ag! Fuck my arm! Shouts of agony and pain came out as the Russians fell to the ground. The man whose bone he had broken fainted instantly, while the guy he had stabbed with his dagger at various places cried as sharp pain overcame him. One by one, every one of the Russians fell. It took only 1 minute 4 seconds. Alex looked at the time left in his bullet time skill and smiled before sighing. He had defeated the Russians in a good enough time, but he had a feeling he would need as much bullet time as he could get. How exactly did you do this? Matt asked, walking up to him and looking around at the bodies. Just a skill, Alex said, panting a little due to the after effects of the skill. Start with it next time. You can finish all the gangsters without me, Matt said. I can't, Alex groaned. It has a timer. I can't use it for a long time. How's your injury now? He looked at his side, which was not bleeding anymore. I can feel my wound fixing itself. It's almost like magic, Matt said, still in a little shock about the effectiveness of the potion. Where did you get it from? I can't tell you that. It's something to be only used in an emergency. Matt nodded his head, thinking to ask about it in detail later. For him, Alex was getting more and more mysterious with time. From his unusual strength to his wolf to his weird skills and now, his magical potion. As he was thinking about looking into his information again later, he felt something. Someone coming. Alex immediately went on guard hearing that, fixing his eyes on the door that led to the stairs. Is it those enhanced guys? Probably. He took his stance and gathered his strength, preparing himself. Suddenly, the door bursted and a man with a metallic body, like he was carved out of steel, walked out. Comment. 20 comments. Vote. Chapter 41, Chapter 041 End of the Russians, Part 5. Chapter 041. As soon as the door bursted and a giant guy carved with metal entered his view, Alex began to think, trying to remember his face from any of the movies or comics. But there was nothing. He didn't know anything about this guy other than the fact that he was able to absorb metals. Behind the giant, an Asian man relatively small in stature walked out. He was wearing a jacket and Alex guessed that he was either Chinese or Japanese. Looks like Vladimir's men weren't able to do their job properly in the end, he said, looking at the bodies lying around. For a second, a hint of panic appeared in his eyes, but he shook it off, focusing on both Matt and Alex, who he was seeing for the first time. Who are you? The Chinese man asked. I thought the devil of Hell's Kitchen worked alone. I know this guy. The metallic giant replied. I saw him on the TV. Heard he defeated a monster. They call him Wolf or something. Many people call me many things. Alex said, squinting at the two of them. He had thought that the two enhanced would be mutants, but it didn't seem like that now. He glanced at Matt, who was trying to stall as much time as he could for his wound to heal completely. Look, our fight isn't against you two. We are just fighting the Russians and don't hold any enmity against you. Matt said, smiling like he was harmless. Oh, so you don't feel anything even after I smashed you to the ground last time? The giant guy smirked. I thought your reputation was a bit more ruthless. Ha ha ha, I try to avoid a fight if I can. Is that so? I will tell you one thing. I was a boxer once and we have a simple rule there. Never avoid a fight or you are termed a coward. The giant guy said as he continued smirking. The Asian man nudged him as he frowned. Just do your job, Creel. He said. We are paid handsomely for a reason. You don't need to tell me what I can do. The giant metallic man, who Alex identified as Creel now, said as the Asian man's hands suddenly got engulfed into flames. Taking it as the start of the fight, Matt threw his baton at the Asian man while Creel rushed at Alex, wanting to see his powers for himself. Guess I have to deal with the guy that hits hard. Alex thought and prepared himself. Let's see if you can take a punch made out of steel. Creel roared as he lashed out in a cross aimed at my chin. A small shockwave went out as Alex caught his fist, steel met with flesh filled with superpower. When Creel stared at Alex in shock at his power, he grinned. He might not be as big as him, but he has enough strength. It wasn't like it was easy to hold his fist, but Alex was trying his best to put up a tough front. Alex pulled in his arm as he aimed a punch at his stomach, but even with his full strength, it just created a small ripple, which wasn't enough as the metallic giant laughed. You need to try way harder if you want to hurt me. That was all he said as he picked up Alex's body like it was paperweight and slammed into a table, which got crushed under his weight. Fuck. He spat out a curse as he tried to pick himself up. My strength can hold him if I try, but it ain't enough to hurt him. Looks like I need to go all out with my wolf. He thought and turned his head to glance at Matt, who was fighting with the Asian man. The whole body of the Asian fan was on fire, but it didn't seem to have any effect on him. Not even his clothes were burning. It looked like the man had pyrokinetic powers which enabled him to control flames and at the same time, make his body immune to it. You need to show more than that or it won't be fun, Creel said, stepping towards Alex and picking him up from the ground. He smiled at the sight of Alex in his grasp as he began to squeeze. Alex whizzed as he struggled, then seeing no other option, he unleashed his wolf at full strength. A massive amount of energy exploded outwards as Creel tried to step back, but he was too close to do anything. He felt a force wave strangling down on his body as he was slammed into the ground, his metal form breaking a part of the floor. That hurts, he muttered as Alex stepped towards him. He quickly got up and looked at Alex. His wolf was fully manifested now, but a part of it was still connected to Alex, making the two of them seem like a weird alien. Actually, this form was something that he had learned when trying to think of ways to use his wolf in different manners. With this, not only Alex can fight with his wolf, but he can also use it to protect himself. What are you? An alien? Creel asked, shocked by what he was seeing. You don't have to know, Alex replied, and Creel rushed out, whipping a punch at him which Alex easily dodged. Then, a pair of claws slashed at his stomach. For a moment, the claws clashed with his stomach, trying to rip through them. Soon, a long gash was stretched into his steel form as Creel blinked stupidly. Looks like you can still get hurt. Alex grinned, but it didn't seem like Creel liked it as he fired back several punches. Some of them Alex blocked while the others were obstructed by his wolf. Creel roared as he rushed Alex, making him fall back under his power, but he countered with his wolf, using its claws to slash at several places of the metallic giant body. The attacks kept getting exchanged as both of them tried their best to come out victorious of the battle that was just starting. Creators' thoughts. Extra 26 Extra 26. No chap tomorrow cause I will be busy. Posting this early today. Promise the schedule will be normal from Sunday. Comment. 29 comments. Vote. Chapter 42, Chapter 042 End of the Russians, Part 6. Chapter 042. I don't have a way to defeat him, Alex thought, halfway through his battle with Creel. Different from the pyromancer, Creel's strength was his metallic body, stamina and strength. All this combined made him a formidable opponent. Unlike the battle with Abomination, Alex didn't even have the sticky bombs to help him, so he needed to find a way. A way to penetrate his defenses. His wolf was doing a good job at keeping him in control, by repeatedly using his claws and ripping through his steel form, but those injuries were healing quickly. And he didn't know how Creel seemed to have an abnormal amount of stamina, and Alex was already panting between his attacks. Fuck. He cursed as Creel punched his stomach, going through the barrier made by his wolf. Then, he picked him up and threw him to a wall, cracks appearing on it due to the impact. He felt one of his bones crack as pain raged inside him. You are pretty good, but you have a long way to go before you can beat me. Creel grinned as he looked at Alex, who was trying to move back up. Glancing back, he could see that his partner was struggling against his fight with Daredevil. That pipsqueak can't do anything if someone doesn't fear his flames. He frowned, thinking he would deal with the devil of Hell's Kitchen himself after killing Lycan. Obviously, he would ask for a much higher paycheck. "Let me finish you off quickly," Creel said with a smile. "I promise it won't hurt." His wolf growled hearing that. It was whimpering slightly due to the blow it had taken, but it looked ready to fight more. "I need to somehow get up." Alex took a deep breath as he focused his energy to get back up. He didn't know how to defeat Creel, but he needed to try. In his frustration, he threw a piece of wood that had broken off from a table at Creel and he caught it in his hands without thinking. At that moment, something surprising happened. "What the?" Creel's skin suddenly changed color. No, the whole substance changed. From steel to wood. Alex's eyes twinkled as he realized the weakness of Creel. He doesn't have any control over his powers. Creel yanked in surprise as his whole body changed suddenly to wood. He looked around, trying to find a piece of steel to change into. But Alex wasn't going to give him a chance. He leaped up, not caring about pain or injuries. His wolf roared as Alex directed it to slash at Creel, his body not having the same defensive property now. Wood was way easier to cut through than steel. "Ah!" Creel screamed as he staggered backwards, the attack creating a big cut on his skin. "Motherfuck!" He tried to curse, but Alex punched his stomach, the power of the wolf creating a big impact. Creel's body lifted in the air for a moment due to the punch as anger and rage wrapped his senses. He screamed and put all his power in a punch. At that moment, Alex used the skill that he was saving for this moment. Bullet time. He had around 2 minutes left in it and that was more than enough. As the perception around Alex changed, everything including Creel's punch started flowing slowly. Really slowly. Alex easily sidestepped and dodged his punch. Then, he held his arm and punched him straight in the face. Creel wasn't able to react at all as Alex's speed suddenly changed dramatically. He tried to block his attacks but he wasn't able to follow his movements at all. Taking out his wolf's claws, he slashed repeatedly. Creel tried to block the attacks and counter but it didn't have any effect as he was just punching air. As he was lighter in his wood form, Alex picked him up somehow and threw him at a wall. He slammed into the wall. Alex sprinted towards him and punched his face repeatedly. From nose to chin to cheek, Alex punched him everywhere in bullet time. In just 30 seconds, he had hit more than 100 punches. Soon, blood started to pour from his lips and nostrils. His wood form changed slowly to become skin as Alex realized that Creel was now unconscious. "Ah, it's over finally." Alex sighed as the bullet time ended. He opened up his hero shop and bought an item called Hunter's Net. It looked like a small, black-colored disc and as soon as he put it on Creel's head, it transformed into a net. If he tried to get out of it, it would shock him. With that, Alex's job was finally over and he looked at Matt who was standing besides the Asian guy who was unconscious on the ground. The floor around Matt was scorched black and he could easily see that some parts of Matt's costume was burnt with blood leaking out from here and there. He threw another hunter's disc at Matt and he caught it easily. "Throw that disc on the guy as a precaution." He gestured at the now unconscious Creel. "That will be enough." "Thanks." Matt frowned, feeling pain from his injuries. "Looks like the fighting is at least over." "The job is not." "Yeah, let's finish soon. It's hard to even walk." "Not like I'm any different." They walked limply at the top and found the large stash of steel serpent heroin. Alex wanted to hand all the heroin to the police but Matt shook his head. Many people in the police force worked under Kingpin and it wasn't wise to hand it over to them. Their best choice was to burn it, and it didn't take them long to get the whole stash on fire. After calling the police and reporting about the Russians, their job was finally over. Alex wanted to take Creel and Scorch. Alex later learned his name from Matt, for interrogation on their powers, but he didn't have a place to keep them. Moreover, he was sure S.H.I.E.L.D. would get them after tonight. Their only regret was Vladimir, the leader of the Russian gang, but he wasn't in the building. Alex wondered if he had just run away, but there was no way to know for him. At that point, he didn't know that Vladimir was already dead. Creators' thoughts. Extra 26. Back on schedule. Comment. 30 comments. Vote. Chapter 43, Chapter 043 Kingpin. Chapter 043. You piece of shit. Vladimir Ranskov scorned as he looked at the man in front of him. Do you really think I will let you go like this? Blood trickled down from his face as he glared at the man in front of him with all the hatred he could amass. Desperate men sometimes say stuff that doesn't make sense. The man said, his face devoid of any emotions. He was wearing a white suit jacket and his head was bald, giving him a funny look, especially with all the body mass. But people close to him, including Vladimir, knew that all that mass was actually muscle. You are the same kind of person, Vladimir. He finished his sentence with a rather sharp look. You killed my brother. I can never forgive you. Vladimir spit out, rage surging through him. We had a deal, Fisk. I trusted you, you motherfucker. You should very well know that in our line nobody can be fully trusted. A man besides Kingpin spoke. Vladimir glanced at him, scoffing at the sight. He was James Wesley, Kingpin's right-hand man and someone Vladimir hated. But I still thought you will fulfill what you have said. Vladimir said. What about the others? Do they agree with you? Or everyone was just using us from the start? There were some disagreements, but I handled them. Gao is worried due to how it all ended. But I will handle it. Kingpin said, not hiding anything. As for him, Vladimir was already dead. You don't have to worry about it, Vladimir. Vladimir laughed, putting a hand to his face. Just this motion was enough to cause him a lot of pain, but he was numb at this point. He hadn't died even after being shot 6 times at different places. He could still go on for a few more minutes. What about the vigilantes? Daredevil and that wolf guy? How are you gonna deal with them going forward? Vladimir smirked, trying to at least cause a ripple in Kingpin's expression. You are not the type to like uncertainties. I will deal with them. He said, but the tone in his voice betrayed him. One way or another, they are going down. Those guys, they aren't the type to do down. They are like you in a way. Trying to make a difference, and people like you are not the ones they can be dealt with. Either you will get destroyed or they will. You don't have to bother with it. Kingpin said, but Vladimir just laughed. You are scared. It's so clear. He stared at Kingpin. I heard about how you were paranoid since the Harlem incident. You are scared these vigilantes will stop you from achieving your desire. Kingpin didn't say anything. He just waited, and his right-hand man followed his silence. Vladimir leaned against the wall, looking at both the people he hated the most in the world. You know, Fisk, people like you and me. We start at the bottom and try to reach the top by any means. Some do it for pleasure and some just have wild, crazy ambitions like you. He coughed up some blood as he talked, but didn't stop. In the end, we all go down the same way. Losing everything in just one bullet. A gunshot rang out as he was in the middle of his frantic monologue. Kingpin looked up to see James Wesley holding up a gun. "I'm sorry, sir." He lowered his gun. He was speaking more than he can afford. "It's fine." Kingpin shook his head. "It would have been more violent if I had moved. You did the right thing, giving him a merciful death." He turned his head to look at Vladimir's limp body. Blood was slowly flowing out on the floor and Kingpin could only sigh seeing this. He still remembered the first time he had met Vladimir and his brother, Anatoly. Although hot-headed, both of them had potential and it was a regret that he wasn't able to take full advantage of that potential. Anatoly had ended up ruining his first date with his lover and for that, Kingpin had killed him in a bout of rage. He didn't feel remorse about it and simply felt like he had done the right thing. But it has caused serious damage to his organization. It will take quite a while before they can secure another route to sell the Steel Serpent heroin. In the end, a lot has taken to clean the mess. Inform the others and kill all the remaining members of the Russian gang. We don't need them running around like rats. I will inform the other members of Vladimir's death." Kingpin spoke, his voice one of disappointment. "I understand." Wesley nodded, then hesitated a bit before asking. "But what about the vigilantes? Although Vladimir was an idiot, those vigilantes have been causing trouble for us for a long time. We will deal with them." Kingpin walked down the stairs of the abandoned building they were in and Wesley followed him in silence. As they reached downstairs, he spoke. "I will talk with Gao. That woman wanted to test out her weapons for a long time. Those vigilantes would be the right target." "Are you sure about that, sir?" Wesley asked, thinking of one of the 5 fingers of hand, Madame Gao. That woman was not someone he trusted. "Why?" "The hand can very well turn out like the Russians. They have crazy ambitions and New York is just the start of it. I know that very well." Kingpin looked at him. "But they have the power that I covet. Even if we are powerful, it's hard to say what we can do about zombies." "Do you mean?" he asked as they came outside. Wesley stared at him expecting a reply but Kingpin shook his head. He raised his head to look at the night sky. "Times are changing. We now have to deal with monsters, a guy with a wolf and even a billionaire with robotic armor. Thinking of all that, those zombies are way better to deal with. You know what I call this age, Wesley?" "What?" "It's the age of monsters and miracles and I want to stand above all that." Comment. 12 comments. Vote. Chapter 44, Patreon. Go get 15 chaps in advance on Patreon. https://www.patreon.com/extra26. Comment. 8 comments. Vote. Chapter 45, Chapter 044 Gwen Stacy. Chapter 044. Finally, a day where nothing interesting is happening. Alex exclaimed in his mind as he looked at the basketball court with a smile. His smile wasn't due to the basketball match but due to the fact that he finally had a chance to take a break today and enjoy his normal life. Feeling happy about it, he focused on the game. On the court, Flash Thompson was struggling with the ball with Harry Osborn. The game was already going on for over half an hour and now, it was finally in its last phase. On the side, Liz Allen and a group of cheerleaders were cheering on. Surprisingly, Mary Jane wasn't among them, and it just gave more strength to the rumors about her and Harry breaking up. Although it was the hottest topic in the school, Alex didn't care about it. He didn't particularly like the versions of Mary Jane and Harry in this universe, and he didn't want to do anything with them. After all, he already had too much on his plate. In the game, Harry was finally able to steal the ball from Flash and was able to score a three-pointer, winning his team the game. A frantic cheer rose from the girls as Harry high-fived his team members. For a sec, Alex noticed his eyes resting on Liz and he shook his head, noticing that. Must be nice to be a playboy. As he thought about Harry being a playboy, another character came to his mind, Tony Stark aka Iron Man. He recalled that it was almost the time for Iron Man 2 events. He had been hearing news about the incident in Monaco and Tony Stark's fight with the US government over his Iron Man suit. But as he was too busy clearing out the Russians with Matt, he hadn't given much thought about it. What are you thinking about? Alex came out of his thoughts when Peter sat down next to him. Just stuff. He answered, glancing back at him. You heard about Mary Jane and Harry? Yeah, I heard her crying in the bathroom and asked about it. Peter answered, seemingly not bothered about their breakup, which surprised Alex, who was pretty sure that Peter will get together with her sooner or later. So, what do you plan to do? About what? Mary Jane. You like her, right? Alex asked directly, finding something odd about Peter. He was pretty sure that many things have happened with him, possibly related to Oscorp and Dr. Connors. Possibly, even a certain blonde-haired girl was involved. Well, I do like her, but I don't think I will make a move on her. It's better for us to be friends rather than anything more. How did you come to that conclusion? Just I realized stuff. Someone helped me with it. Alex smiled hearing that, finally confirming his suspicions. He looked at Peter with an annoying grin and asked. A girl? Peter was surprised for a moment before sighing. He pondered whether he should lie his way out but gave up. Yeah, it's a girl. She's doing an internship at Oscorp and we got along well. Her name's Gwen Stacy. That's nice. Here, I thought your girlfriend was gonna be science all your life. He chuckled and both of them talked about stuff from here and there, with Peter asking about his self-defense classes at Chikra Dojo, which Alex would often use as an excuse to not play video games together. Soon, the topic changed to Stark Expo and Tony Stark. Are you planning to go to the Stark Expo? I heard Hammer Industries are going to reveal something big. Dr. Connors was saying that the event was gonna be attended by all military officials. Peter asked, looking excited while talking about Stark Expo. As it was the place for the inventions of the future, he couldn't wait to go there. I don't know. Alex replied meekly, knowing what will transpire at the expo. Tony Stark is in the news for all the wrong reasons these days. You do know what happened in Monaco? I read about it, but that guy was arrested. Moreover, Tony Stark won't be there at the expo. It will just be Hammer Industries. Do you even have the passes to such an event? It's not easy to get in there. Alex asked, thinking about the high prices of Stark Expo passes, but Peter just smiled. I have the passes. Dr. Connors gave me 2 passes as a bonus for doing a good job. He said with mirth in his voice. I'm going with Gwen, but I can ask for 1 more pass for you. Nah, I don't want to ruin your date. I will just play some video games and take a break. I'm really tired these days. Alex shook his head and rejected Peter's offer. Although he said that, Alex was gonna be there in the Stark Expo as he knew what was gonna happen there. In Iron Man 2, Ivan Vanko unleashed drones that started killing people and nearly destroyed the whole Stark Expo. The same events will repeat in a few days, and it was a great chance for Alex to earn a large amount of HP. Even without it, he can't let so many people die. Thankfully, his father worked at Stark Industries and it won't be hard for Alex to acquire a pass for himself. Come to think of it, even in the MCU, Peter was present in Stark Expo. Suddenly, he remembered an interesting detail. After Spider-Man has made his debut in the MCU, it was revealed that he was the kid that Iron Man saved during the final fight of Iron Man 2. It was an interesting detail and Alex had liked it a lot. Now, Peter was a teenager in this world, but he was still attending Stark Expo. I feel like I'm just going from one big fight to another. Alex lamented on his fate of being a hero. His fight against the Russians had just ended and now it was the final events of Iron Man 2. He knew that being a hero wasn't easy, but he never imagined the job to be this tiring. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Asterisk 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 is up and you can get 15 chaps in advance there if you want. Thanks for reading. Comment. 28 comments. Vote. Chapter 46, Chapter 045 Coconut and Metal. Chapter 045. Many military officials have gathered for today's Stark Expo. It's rumored that Hammer Industries are gonna reveal a product that will change the American military completely. It's been suspected that a deal between Justin Hammer and the US military has already been concluded. After Stark Industries left the weapons market, Hammer Industries has been in the forefront with massive deals with the military. Alex listened calmly to the radio as he tapped his desk, his mind hovering over many thoughts as he practiced his breathing technique. Today was the day that the events of Iron Man 2 would happen. Drone attacks, people dying and Ivan Vanko blasting himself off in the end, that was the basic gist of the movie. It had all gone smoothly in the movie with Tony Stark saving the day, but in the background, many people have died. Alex's plan was to stop as many casualties as he could. For that, he had even asked help from his blind lawyer friend, Daredevil. Although Matt was never shown to be a part of the MCU canon, Alex can take his help in this world. Especially after they have dealt with the Russians together. As Alex has provided him with more elven health potions after the fight, he was grateful to him, and when it comes to saving people, Matt was never going to say no. While he stopped his breathing technique, his phone suddenly rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Matt. "Hey, are you already there?" he asked. "Yeah, there's a lot of people here, most of them excited about what's going to be revealed. They won't be very excited when the event starts. Are you sure that something bad is going to happen?" As the military officials are joining in, the security is top-notch. They didn't even go easy with a blind guy. Matt said the last sentence with a chuckle and Alex sighed inwardly. To hide his knowledge of the future, he was being really discreet about what's going to happen. "I'm sure something is about to happen. And it won't be small. Ivan Vanko and Justin Hammer are working together, and both of them hate Tony Stark. Yeah, I looked into it a bit. It seems like Justin Hammer has a huge inferiority complex due to Tony Stark and Vanko. I didn't find much on him aside from his nationality and stuff, but he does hate Stark to an insane degree. Yeah, enough to try to kill him during the Monaco Grand Prix." There was a silence on the phone for a moment as Alex guessed that Matt was hesitating to tell him something. In the end, a voice came out from the other side of the phone. I think Tony Stark is up to something too. What? I searched through videos of him in the past week and his body movements have been unusual. They are very little that no one will really notice, but I'm pretty sure he's dying. Although what Matt said was shocking, Alex was still calm. I don't know what is more shocking. A blind person searching through videos or Tony Stark dying. I did tell you. I know, sight is overrated. Look, I don't know about Tony Stark, but I don't think he's gonna die easily, especially when the whole world, especially S.H.I.E.L.D. is after him. Doesn't that mean it's way more likely for him to die? Nah, he's the type to persevere in adversities. Anyway, I will give you a message when I'm there. Just look around and enjoy the expo till then. Alex cut the call after that and walked downstairs. Today, he didn't have to make an excuse as to where he was going, as his parents themselves have given him the Stark Expo passes. *****. Finally. Jarvis, how are the results? Tony Stark asked, excitement visible in his eyes as he looked at the element he had created in front of him. It was a new energy power source that would be a viable replacement of palladium, and it was also his father's legacy, which Tony had finally discovered. Congratulations, sir. You have created a new element. A robotic voice resounded as Tony walked up to the element he had created. Carefully picking it up, he put it down on his arc reactor and it happily accepted it. The reactor has accepted the modified core. I can start doing diagnostics. Sweet. He smiled, then took a look around the room, frowning at the state it was in. Jarvis, start cleaning up the mess. If Pepper saw this, she would say I'm going into my mad scientist mode. I will start the drones, sir. As Jarvis said that, Tony finally sat down and took a sigh of relief. Finally, he was out of the clutches of death. With the new element, he won't have to deal with the poisoning. All thanks to the gift his father had left him. Sir, I'm getting a call from a blocked number. As he was in his thoughts, Jarvis suddenly spoke, confusing Tony as he looked at one of the holographic screens around him. Is it Coulson? S.H.I.E.L.D. has been messing with me a lot these. Hey Tony, how you doing? Thanks for the advice. He stopped speaking as an unusual voice sounded out. It was unusual but definitely familiar. After all, the Russian accent has been in his mind for a couple of days now. What? Your advice? I used it and it worked wonders. Thanks. You sound pretty sprightly for a guy who's so close to his death. You too, ha. Tony muted the speaker and asked Jarvis to track the call. Not bothered by it, Ivan continued, never been so excited before. There are a lot I want to talk to you about. But I want to see your destruction first. You know, what your family did to mine in 40 years. I will do to you in 40 minutes. Lovely. Jarvis, are you tracking him? Yes sir, I have tracked up to Tri-State area. As Jarvis said that, the call was disconnected and the tracking process stopped. Tony frowned, realizing he had missed his location. Any clues, Jarvis? I'm checking for every possible he could be at. It won't take long to find probable locations. Great. But I feel like I know what he's pointing at. Destruction in 40 minutes. His words trailed off as he realized what Ivan was aiming at. Jarvis, stop the test on the element. There's no time for it. Prepare the suit. But sir, it will be risky. I'm the best person to do the test on. He said and picked up his arc reactor. Having no choice, he put it in his chest, power surging through him as the palladium poisoning around his chest started disappearing. The last thing he knew was that his element tasted like coconut and metal. Comment. 24 comments. Vote. Chapter 47, Chapter 046 Famous People and Showcase. Chapter 046. There's a hell lot of people here. Alex thought as he walked through the crowd, finding it hard to look around with all the people gathered at the event. Aside from the Hammer Industries fair, there were other inventions on display too, but people rarely glanced towards them. Everyone wanted to know what Justin Hammer was going to reveal today. Where exactly are you, Matt? Alex tapped on the comm links he had bought from his system and called Matt as he moved towards the auditorium. Hammer Industries' weapon demonstration event called In Defense of Peace was going to start in a few minutes. On the other side. Want me to come find you? A crisp and clear voice came out from the phone. No, it's better if we are on opposite sides. It's more effective. There can be a lot of firing here today. Are you prepared for that? I'm wearing my armor inside my clothes, so I will be fine. Although I didn't bring my helmet. That's better. The horns will just scare the kids away. A chuckle came out from him as he ended the call. With at least Matt here, there will be some less casualties. Ah, he's there. As Alex was in the middle of his thoughts, he suddenly noticed someone familiar. It was Peter, and a girl with blonde hair was standing next to him. He instantly recognized her as Gwen Stacy. With a pretty face and slim body, she looked like the type to be the lead cheerleader in high school. But the girl didn't resemble Emma Stone much. She looked way more like her comic version. She's still a lot prettier than I imagined. He felt jealous as he thought of Peter's love life in the comics, which was filled with a large number of female superheroes. Come to think of it, his love life was one always focused on in the animation series and movies. Well, whatever. I at least don't have to worry about protecting her today. Peter was more than enough to protect Gwen from the drones, so after a glance, he shifted his focus on the stage. The military officials were already present, but the leaders of famous corporations and other civilians in authoritative posts were still coming in. Alex was even able to recognize some of them as they walked in with bodyguards by their side. There was Ward and Joy Meacham from Rand Enterprises, Larry Ellison from Oracle, Anastasia Hardy from Hardy Foundation, and in the end, there was Pepper Potts, followed by a redhead spy. Obviously, she didn't know about her assistant's real identity as a spy. Both of them shook hands with some people and then sat down in one of the front seats. He watched it all from the back as the people settled down. Finally, after a while, the event finally started as Justin Hammer walked on the stage, dancing weirdly to the music and amidst the applause and cheer from the audience. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. He said as he looked up at the audience, enjoying being the center of attention. He gave a final look as the applause calmed down. Then his speech started. Ladies and gentlemen, for far too long, this country has had to place its brave men and women in harm's way, but then the Iron Man appeared, and we thought that the days of losing lives were behind us. Sadly, that technology was kept out of reach. That's not fair. That's not right, and it's just too bad. He said, and with a bit of pause, started talking about Iron Man. Regardless, it was an innovative invention. One that grabbed headlines all over the world. But today, my friends, the press has another problem. They are gonna run out of ink. Another applause rang out as he glanced at the military officials. With a smile, he began presenting what he thought would make him more famous than Tony Stark. "Ladies and gentlemen, today, I present you to the new face of the United States military, the Hammer drones." Military music rang out as the drones rose out from the state. The applause got louder and louder as Justin Hammer began presenting the drones. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. Justin Hammer clapped to the applause as he continued. "Yeah. Woo. That's a hell of a lot better than some cheerleaders, let me tell you." He smiled. "But as revolutionary as this technology is, there will always be a need for man to be present in the theater of war." With that, another space opened on the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, today I am proud to present to you the very first prototype in the Variable Threat Response Battlesuit and its pilot, Air Force Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes." Alex could see Pepper's shocked and confused face as Justin Hammer took Rhodes' name. Taking a look at the audience, Rhodey saluted and all the drones followed. The sound of cameras clicking, people clapping and muttering in disbelief filled the auditorium. Besides Alex, someone muttered, "So, the age of machines is finally here." But it was not the end. "The real party will begin now," he thought as he turned his head to look up at Tony Stark flying through in his Iron Man suit. Not only him, but many people noticed him. As soon as Tony landed on the stage, applause that could bleed one's ears rang out as people stood up from their seats, giving Tony a standing ovation. "We got trouble," Tony said, walking up to Rhodey while Alex dialed Matt. "Tony, there are civilians present. I'm here on orders. Let's not do this right now," Rhodey said as Justin Hammer stood there, confused at what was happening. "Give them a wave," he said, waving at the audience. "All these people are in danger. We gotta get them out of here. You gotta trust me for the next 5 minutes." "Yeah, I tried that. I got tossed around your house, remember? Listen, I think he's working with Vanko." As all that was happening on the stage, Alex was talking with Matt, warning him about the drones. "The drones are gonna go crazy. Be prepared. So, Skynet gonna get real. We do live in a crazy world." He took a deep breath as he touched his wolf pendant. Comment. 24 comments. Vote. Chapter 48, Chapter 047 Spider-Man. Chapter 047. On the stage, Tony Stark was interrogating Justin Hammer as the audience watched in confusion. Some military officials whispered among each other. "Where's Vanko?" Tony asked in a serious voice, scaring Justin. "Who? Tell me. What are you doing here, man?" Justin asked, trying to feign ignorance. Suddenly, Rhodey shouted as he lost control over his suit. He tried to get the controls back as a large gun on his back took aim. "Is that you?" Tony asked, frowning at Rhodey, but he shook his head. "No, I'm not doing that. That's not me. I can't move. I'm locked up. I'm locked up." As he said that, the drones behind him took aim. "Get out of here. Go. This whole system's been compromised." People scattered to run away as the drones took aim while Tony took off for the sky. The drones followed him and launched a barrage of bullets at him. They didn't touch Tony, but it was enough to shatter the glass ceiling, raining pieces of glass at the audience. "Get down!" Alex, who was now in his costume, yelled as he pushed some people down, covering them from the glass shards. He could hear many people's screams as they were hurt by the glass shards, while some of them were in disbelief over what was happening. He could see bodyguards protecting some military officials, and in the sky, Tony was being chased by the Air Force drones, led by Rhodey. "Matt, let's get to work," he said, tapping his comm link, which looked like an earbud. "Onto it. After superhumans, I'm fighting with robots. I miss the time when gangsters were my only concern. Think of it as a promotion," he said, and looked at the marching army of drones. People were running away, and the drones chasing Tony were firing bullets and missiles without caring about any of the civilians. Drones weren't his specialty, but Alex didn't have a choice. He sprinted towards one of the army drones which was hailing bullets. The drone noticed him and fired at him, but Alex easily dodged the attack in a zigzag motion. Something sharp flashed in his hand as he slashed at the drones, destroying the arms and the guns on the back. The final attack was dealt by his wolf as the drone exploded in tatters. One down. Several left. He thought as another drone landed next to him, firing at him before he could get a chance to attack it. But before the bullets could do anything, his wolf covered his body as he threw his dagger at the drone's head, making it malfunction. It convulsed as the rockets got activated. Firing everywhere without any control, the drone smashed into another drone, which ended up in a small explosion. "These drones are way worse than I thought they'd be," Alex muttered and shouted at the people who were staring at him instead of running. "Get out of here. If you keep standing around, you will be dead in no time." They all nodded and started running away. He held his dagger tightly as he moved with his wolf on the side. Suddenly, he saw a kid who had tripped while running. He was crying, but before his mom could pick him up, a drone landed next to them. "Shit!" Alex cursed as he contemplated using bullet time. Otherwise, both the kid and mom would be dead. But at that moment, something shocking happened. A sticky web suddenly shot out from somewhere and covered the machine gun part of the drone. Then, a guy in a red mask suddenly appeared out of nowhere and kicked the drone. Shooting more webs towards him, he grabbed its hand hair and tore it off before smacking the drone with it. "Are you two okay?" he asked the kid and his mom after they were out of danger. Yes. Thank you." After saying that, the mom picked up her kid and ran towards the exit. "He's finally making his debut," Alex exclaimed in his mind as he recognized the red-masked guy as Peter, becoming relieved and excited about him finally showing his true colors. "Hey!" he called out to Peter, who turned around to look up at him, being shocked by Alex's costume but recognizing him due to the footage shown in the TV after his fight with Abomination. "What's your name?" Spider, guy. I don't really have one yet." "Leave it. Can you handle the drones around here?" Yes. I can do that, Mr. Wolf. Let's leave the names for later." Alex smiled before moving on to fight two more drones. With Peter protecting the civilians, his job was going to be easier than expected. "I hope all this ends soon. I hate seeing people dying." He frowned as he directed his wolf to fight two drones that were beside a man's dead body. He had apparently been shot through his head. Feeling his master's anger, the wolf showed no mercy as he took out its claws and slashed through both the drones. The drones weren't able to detect it in time as Alex's wolf didn't have a body temperature. It was a shadow. Practically a ghost, and drones weren't really made to fight against something which was arguably not alive. Wanting to have no more casualties, Alex went all out, projecting all his strength into his wolf. The wolf shone with a dark energy as it howled wildly, its voice echoing through the Stark Expo. With a mental command, it leaped at a drone, claws making a mockery out of the substance it was made of. Then, the wolf sprinted on all fours and slammed into another drone, saving an old man from getting shot. A dark green force ball was suddenly created in the mouth of his wolf as Alex commanded it to throw it at 4 drones who were grouped together. The energy ball slammed into the drones with enough physical force to break them into pieces. I am finally loving the level up benefits, Alex thought as his wolf kept creating mayhem all around. In the distance, a red-headed spy looked back to what was going on in the Stark Expo and exclaimed in awe. That wasn't written in his files. Comment. 41 comments. Vote. Chapter 49, Chapter 048 Weird names are just in fashion. Chapter 048. As Alex was fighting off the drones and protecting civilians, Tony and Rhodey were in an intense fight with Ivan Wanko, who was now in his upgraded whiplash armor. Tony has already gained control of Rhodey's armor back and now, he was helping him fight back against Ivan. Around them, sliced up parts of drones were scattered around. Tony had used his lasers at them and that was more than enough for the drones. But before they could take a breath, Ivan appeared and now, they were both in an intense situation. Currently, Ivan has wrapped his now upgraded whips around the throat of Rhodey and Tony's, slowly tightening it in order to break their necks. The situation was getting more and more dire as both of them struggled against Ivan. At that moment, Tony suddenly has an idea. Rhodes. I got an idea. You want to be a hero? He asked as he looked at his best friend. What? I could really use a sidekick. Put your hand up. This is your idea? Rhodey asked, realizing what Tony wanted to do. Although it was a crazy plan, it was their only chance to win. Yep. I'm ready. I'm ready. Go, go, go. Take it. Tony shouted and fired his repulsor ray. Rhodey did the same and both of their attacks met in the middle, triggering an explosion. Unfortunately for Ivan, he was in the middle of it and had no time to truly react to it. Tony and Rhodey were also thrown back due to the explosion, but they were safe unlike Ivan, whose suit was mostly destroyed and he was unable to move. Ah, that was quite a punch, Tony said, recovering from the shockwave and getting back on their feet. With Rhodey beside him, they walked up to Ivan. He took a look at his suit and frowned, noticing that it was beyond repair. More like completely destroyed. Even if Ivan survived the impact, his body won't be in a good shape, possibly damaged for life. As they walked up to him, his mask flipped up, revealing his face. You lose. Ivan said, hatred in his voice. Are you going crazy because of the explosion? I don't think you realize what type of situation you are in. Tony said, but Ivan just smirked. It's you who don't realize what sort of situation you are in. Saying that, he turned off the self-destruct bombs and his arc reactor beeped red along with all the other drones in the vicinity. All these drones are rigged to blow. We gotta get out of here, man, Rhodey said, realizing what sort of trouble they were in. Pepper would still be there. Tony muttered alarmingly as he thought about all the drones littered across the expo. Jarvis had earlier informed him that some people were fighting the drones, but he didn't bother about them. For him, Pepper's life was more important. Rhodey, pick up anyone you see there. I will go for Pepper. Understood. They quickly flew to the sky, directing all their powers in the thrusters, hoping that everyone would have already left the expo. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. This will be the final drone. Alex muttered, removing his dagger from the drone's head. Looking around, Parts of destroyed drones were littered everywhere. Thankfully, they had managed to save a lot of lives today. Although, some people have still died. Looks like the job is over, Matt said, walking up to him. His baton was still in his hands and he seemed to have gotten quite a few injuries, especially on his arm. Peter has already left after ensuring that every civilian has left, probably because he was worried about Gwen. Alex didn't mind that and just decided to talk to him as Lycan later. Are you okay? He asked, looking at Matt. It's fine. A bullet just grazed me. I will be fine after some first aid. What about you? Any injuries? Nah, my wolf protected me. Matt nodded his head and took another look at their surroundings. What had happened there would surely stay in people's minds for a long time. He will be in the limelight too. Not something Matt liked, but it was inevitable. As he was thinking that, there was suddenly an explosion. Both Alex and Matt turned their heads to the direction of the sound as realization suddenly dawned on Alex. That explosion. The drones are gonna self-destruct. Like he had thought, the drones suddenly started beeping. He yelled, feeling a sense of danger. Matt, we need to get out of here now. What? The drones are gonna self-destruct. Saying that, both of them ran towards the exit. But Alex knew they wouldn't be fast enough. Hammer drones were everywhere inside the expo and they will explode in the next few seconds. There was not enough time to run. But at that moment, he suddenly saw Tony and Rhodey flying through at full speed. Tony didn't look at them and just flew ahead, wanting to get Pepper out of harm's way. But Rhodey came towards them and said, "Grab my arms quickly. This place is gonna blow up." Alex and Matt shared a look before grabbing each of War Machine's arms before he took off in the sky, leaving behind explosions that had started all over the expo. It kind of looks pretty, Alex thought as he looked down at the explosions happening all over on the ground. From their height, they looked pretty to Alex. Even if in reality, millions of dollars were just getting burned. Tony is more than rich enough to deal with all this, he thought as Rhodey took him and Matt to a safe spot, landing slowly. That was one hell of an experience, Matt muttered after he separated from Rhodey. I had the same reaction when I first got a flight test. Rhodey flipped up his helmet. What are you two's name? Lycan. Daredevil. Weird names. Did they come with the mask and the suit? He asked, chuckling. Kinda. I think weird names and suits are just in fashion, Alex answered, happy to meet a future Avenger for the first time. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. I would like to thank Sivan and Leo for helping to edit the novel, and I also would like to thank all the people who have provided me with support and encouragement to continue writing by becoming patrons. Up to 15 advanced chapters are available on Patreon if you don't want to wait for the next update. https://www.patreon.com/extra26. Comment. 30 comments. Vote. Chapter 50, Chapter 049 Avengers Initiative. Chapter 049. It is my honor to be here today to present these distinguished awards to Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes and Mr. Tony Stark, who is, of course, a national treasure. On the TV, Alex was watching the honor ceremony of Tony Stark and James Rhodes after the Battle of Stark Expo. For protecting the civilians, both of them were being bestowed with the Medal of Bravery. Even the appearance of him, Matt and Peter protecting the civilians was discussed a lot, but as their identities are unknown, the government decided not to honor them. It didn't mean that the government wasn't wary of vigilantes. They just didn't know what to do with them at this point. Alex didn't really care about a medal. Even though it would be nice to receive one, he can't risk his identity over it. For him, the popularity of vigilantes among the public was enough. They had come to have a positive opinion about vigilantes after what transpired in Harlem and Stark Expo. Some people were still against them, but most appreciated them. Alex had even heard that some online fan clubs had shown up. "Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel, for such an exceptionally distinguished performance. You deserve this." "Thank you, sir." Alex smiled when he saw Senator Stern pin a medal on Rhodey's chest. He had saved Alex and Matt at the expo that night, and although their meeting was short, he was still thankful. Alex had immediately run home after his meeting with Rhodey that night due to several missed calls from his parents. They were really worried about him due to the drone attack. On the other hand, Matt had to leave due to his injuries, so both of them left soon. Though, Alex was sure Tony was gonna look into him, Peter and Matt later. Either to say thanks or just because of curiosity. Probably the latter. Not only Tony would be curious. Alex thought as he saw Senator Stern pin the medal on Tony's chest and mutter something to him. Although he was trying to smile, the annoyed expression on his face was for everyone to see. Public opinion of Senator Stern was just of a shrewd politician who publicly cursed Tony Stark, but Alex knew of his hidden identity. Hydra. Like many of the government and SHIELD members, Senator Stern was also a member of Hydra, which was thought to be destroyed. It won't be until Winter Soldier events that Stern will be arrested, and Hydra will continue for a long time even after that. They were too much of a tough nut to crack and were true to their famous saying, "Cut off a limb and two more shall take its place." Something like that. Hydra will be one of the main enemies until at least the events of Age of Ultron. Alex thought and frowned, thinking about it. Even before Hydra, he had a lot to worry about: Kingpin, Loki, Lizard, and maybe even Goblin if Norman Osborn started loving Pumpkin too much. Thinking of all this, he turned off the TV and went to his room. As soon as he entered his room, his wolf suddenly stirred inside of him, like it was sensing something unusual. Closing the door, he casually sat down on a chair, but his wolf just stirred more and more inside of him. Finally, after a moment, something sharp shined in front of him. "Ah, nice," he said as he caught the knife just before it could touch his shoulder. "So, I finally did enough for them to knock on my door." "More like, sneak in. Come out. Whoever is there, I won't ask a second time," he said, and out of nowhere, someone walked into the light. A black man with characteristics really easy to identify: a bald head and an eye patch. He was Nick Fury, the best spy on the planet and head of SHIELD. "Great reflexes you have," he said, walking towards him. "Who are you? And how did you come in?" "My name's Nick Fury, Director of SHIELD." "What's that?" "An organization of bald thieves," Alex asked, trying to not show any expression on his face. "The organization that protects people from stuff that only appears in fiction and movies." Fury smiled. "So, you are a spy. But what are you doing here?" "I don't think I'm someone who should garner your attention, Mr. Director." "You certainly do. What should I call you?" "Alex Crown Orlicon," Fury asked, and for a second, his expression shook. Although he knew that Fury won't come here without knowing possibly everything about him, it still made him frown seeing someone knowing his identity. "Orlicon? I don't know what you're talking about." Are you still going to say that after catching that knife which a normal person would not have been able to see? I just do martial arts. Alex tried to feign ignorance, but Fury shook his head. I know, Chikra Dojo, but you haven't been going there for a while now. Been too busy with your vigilante activities. Again. I don't know what you're talking about. Then, let me go talk to your mom. Heard she's pretty overprotective about you. I wonder what she will say about your nightly activities. He said, taking out a few photos of Alex roaming the streets at nights. One was even of him sneaking out of his room through the window. Going the parents' way, huh? Alex frowned inwardly as Fury smirked at him. Stop. What do you want with me, Fury? Now, you are listening. You don't really give me a choice here. Alex sighed but didn't mind it too much. He knew sooner or later, he would have to deal with S.H.I.E.L.D. Even if S.H.I.E.L.D. was hiding Hydra under it. It was just the right way to go if he wanted to be a part of the first Avengers events. I just wanted to talk to you, kid. You have talents, powers that no one ever saw before, and a sense of responsibility. That's more than enough to work for me, he said, taking out a document and handing it to him. I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers initiative.